What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 874 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the city of Vineland. It's your boy KB, coming at you solo dolo for now, but this is a loaded episode as it is a Thursday edition of the pod, so that means we've got Waterdogs Weekly coming up. Later on in the show, we'll be joined by Philadelphia Waterdogs rookie midfielder Matt Collison. An incredible conversation with Matt. First time I ever got to talk to him. This season, was never available in post-game press conferences, so first time linking up with Matt Collison. He was an absolute blast to talk to. I think you guys are going to really enjoy the conversation following the Waterdogs homecoming weekend sweep and kind of just the mindset of the team as they gear up for the postseason and have this league-wide bye prior to their quarterfinals bye for clinching that number one seed in the Eastern Conference. And also on this episode, we'll talk Phillies, and we'll be joined by Grace Del Pizzo, who does a phenomenal job covering the Philadelphia Phillies. Right now, she's freelancing for the Associated Press, formerly with Phillies Nation, formerly with On Pattison. An awesome conversation about the Philadelphia Phillies with Grace and kind of just the current state of the team, good, bad, and in between. So definitely stay tuned for that as well on this episode. Double guest episode here on episode 874 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, which will also talk Philadelphia Union as their match down at Subaru Park against Messi and Friends, a.k.a. Inter Miami. Just wrapped up in wild fashion. The Union split the points and take home a point. First game that Ryan Richter hasn't won as manager of the Philadelphia Union, but they're only 4 points out of a playoff spot. And what did I tell you guys on the last episode? I'd be fine with a split, although I'm not happy with how things could have gone for the Union, but I'm happy that they were able to get a point against Messi and Friends at home in front of an incredible crowd in the new Philly tribute uniforms that they will be wearing for the remainder of the season in select games. And then we got to talk about how just tiresome and boring and just lame this whole A.J. Brown conversation stuff is. We'll get into that towards the end of the show. Don't you worry. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI across the board. It helps the show continue to grow and get in front of a bunch of people that may not know we exist. So follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on every social platform. Please follow us on all the platforms. Subscribe to the pod on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow. It helps more people find not only Underground Sports Philadelphia on audio, but it also helps people find all of our podcasts here at Underground Industries on audio. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. And subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week, full video episodes of all of our active shows here on the network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It is all on our YouTube channel. We're at 1,297 subscribers. We need 3 more of you to hit that subscribe button. I genuinely, just 3 more of you, and we're on to the next mission, which is 1,400. We need 3 more of you to subscribe, get us to that 1,300 milestone, drop a comment down in the comment section, and smash that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. But please subscribe to the YouTube, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. And this show, ladies and gentlemen, unless you're brand new to the program, you already know this. This show is proudly presented by the city of Vineland. And, guys, you got 2 more chances to take in an incredible time with live music. The Recreation Summer Concert Series is back at the Enrico Serra Bandshell at GM Petro Park with free shows beginning at 7 p.m. Bring the family and enjoy 3 unforgettable nights of live music. The first one happened back on July 18th. Your next opportunity is this weekend, Saturday, August 22nd. It's Kevin Kenny, The Chesney Show. And then on Saturday, September 19th, Van Halen Nation. Country favorites and classic Van Halen hits. There's something for everyone remaining throughout the rest of this summer for the Recreation Summer Concert Series at the Enrico Serra Bandshell at GM Petro Park. Again, that's the Vineland Recreation Summer Concert Series, free at GM Petro Park. Bring your lawn chair, bring your friends, and enjoy the music. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mayor Anthony Finucci, and I'm excited to invite you to the 9th Annual Violent Food Truck Festival on Sunday, September 13th, starting at 11 a.m. Enjoy an incredible lineup of food trucks, live music throughout the day, local crafters, and the amazing community spirit that makes Vineland so special. Bring your family, bring your friends, and come hungry for a fun-filled day of great food and great memories. We can't wait to see you at the Violent Food Truck Festival 2026.
Let's get into the fight in Phils, everyone. They extend their winning streak tonight as they sweep the Miami Marlins down at the bank and go on a 6-game winning streak, which I still believe is the longest win streak in all of Major League Baseball going. We'll have to see if the New York Mets of all teams have continued their win streak, but as of right now, the Phils at least have a firm grasp on the longest win streak in Major League Baseball. Nope, the Mets lost a game, so they lost their streak. It is the fight in Phils with a 6-game win streak, the longest going in Major League Baseball, as they've now swept the Twins and Marlins in back-to-back series. And they find themselves just 4.5 games back of the Atlanta Braves in the NL East. They get to the 70-win mark, and they're 8-2 in their last 10. Finally playing some good ball at home. Aaron Nola delivers in the series finale. The offense showed up on Tuesday night to help alleviate a less than ideal Zach Wheeler start. I'm not saying Zach Wheeler was bad. It's just these past couple of starts, it just looks like Wheels has been kind of like running on fumes once he gets to the 5th inning, but the offense picked it up. And the big part about this win streak, whether it be that Twins series or this Marlins series, is that the Phillies are playing small ball, and they're moving runners around the base paths when they get on. They're walking at just an incredible rate, and that's up and down the lineup, whether it's Kyle Schwarber. We already know Bryce Harper's on pace to walk for the most times in a season since 2021 for him. Bryson Stott is getting on base. Alec Boehm's actually taking pitches and has played extremely well the past 6 games. It's been a total team collective effort during this win streak, and it's very evident that this team is kind of finding a groove right now, and the pitching is doing what it's got to do to be successful. The offense is showing up and picking up the pieces when they need to. Derek Hill has continued to be that steady presence off the bench, and this team is just playing really, really good fundamental and complementary baseball, as they now have won 2 straight series, and both by virtue of a sweep. It's great to break out the brooms anytime you can, especially when it's against a team like the Miami Marlins, who have typically given the Phillies fits over the years. It's nice to get a sweep there at home, especially when you have another home series on the horizon against a team that you should have swept just a week or so ago, against the St. Louis Cardinals, who really took it to you after you won that first game against them on August 10th. You have a chance to get a little bit of a revenge factor here, and you've got great pitching matchups throughout the weekend with Luzardo going on Friday. You've got Andrew Painter on Saturday, and then Christopher Sanchez to close things out on Sunday. That should easily be 2 out of 3 for the Phillies in this series as well, to continue their winning ways and continue stockpiling series wins before they go out west to play the Mariners, the Angels, and the Diamondbacks, like we mentioned on the last episode. But when you look at just some of the success points, I feel like we forget that for such a long time this team was carrying 3 catchers, and you'll hear Grace and I talk about this later on in the episode. It really hamstrung this team, and the way that this team just responds to, obviously, JT Realmuto behind the plate is second to none for this entire rotation, but it is night and day again when Garrett Stubbs is catching versus when Rafael Marchand was, and Garrett Stubbs had a phenomenal game on Wednesday night. not only behind the plate catching Aaron Nola, and it's very evident Nola's more comfortable with Garrett Stubbs catching him, but Stubbs also goes 2 for 3 at the plate, and if you're going to get that from Garrett Stubbs every fifth day, if you say, hey, we're going to pair Stubbs up with Nola because it seems like something's clicking there, I'm all for that, and if Garrett Stubbs is going to give you that offensive production too, that's a huge benefit because you're able to hit Justin Crawford in front of him, and the way that Justin Crawford has played over the past 2-3 months of just progressively getting better and better, that's a huge benefit for the bottom of the lineup that's featuring Brandon Marsh, Justin Crawford, and Garrett Stubbs in those situations. Brandon Marsh goes 2 for 4 tonight on Wednesday night. Justin Crawford 1 for 3. And you pick up the pieces. The two hottest hitters on the team have been Bryson Stott and Alec Boehm. They both go 0 for 4, but the rest of the team does their job. Kyle Schwarber goes 0 for 4, but he scores a run. Trey Turner goes 2 for 4 with an RBI. Bryce Harper walks again, goes 1 for 3 and scores a run. Derek Hill came in defensively in the ninth inning. Luis Arraez with a home run in this game, goes 2 for 4 as a collective there. And then, like I said, Aaron Nola, 7 innings tonight at Citizens Bank Park for Nola. 5 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, and 8 strikeouts. Jonathan Bolin got into a little bit of trouble, but he worked his way out of it. And then Joan Duran comes through for the save, and the Phillies win the series. They sweep the series, and that's a huge game. And if you're going to get these performances from Aaron Nola, which I believe my good pal Ray Dunn tweeted Nola's stats over his last X amount of games, it's been pretty awesome in his last 9 starts. He's got a 3.63 ERA, a 1.33 whip, and 10.2 Ks per 9 in his last 9 starts. That's the Aaron Nola I think we all were hoping to have back in April, and we clearly were not getting that. It's nice to be getting it now. It's better late than never in this type of situation, especially with where the Phillies are in the standings, where they're looking to be in the standings, and hopefully making that Labor Day 4-game set at Citizens Bank Park against the Braves truly, truly meaningful. But this was a huge, huge series sweep. Flo Rida shut it down on Tuesday night. I was in the building. It was quite the spectacle. If you want kind of just the thesis of what the night was, go look at the Phillies recap video that they posted with just an older gentleman living his absolute best life with his jersey unbuttoned on stage with Flo Rida. It was an incredible series for the Phils, 2 straight series sweeps like I mentioned, and now you get the Cardinals, who are a team that, like I said, they beat you about a week and a half ago at this point. You are a better team than them right now. You are a better team than them overall. You should be able to take it to a team like the St. Louis Cardinals, win 2 out of 3 at minimum, that being on Friday, and on Sunday you see what Saturday gives you. But this team should be able to take it to the Cardinals and continue to separate themselves in the standings for the wild card from the Cardinals as well, because you look at the wild card right now, the Phillies 2 games up on the Padres in the wild card standing. They're 4 games back of the Cubs now, and like I mentioned, 4.5 back of the Braves for the division lead. The Diamondbacks are a game out of the wild card. The Cardinals are 3 out of the wild card, so you're about 5 games up on the Cardinals. Distance yourself from them. Kind of just put a nail in the coffin to their season if you're able to take 2 out of 3 or pull off a sweep against the St. Louis Cardinals. That would be huge. Just continue to distance yourself from teams like the Cardinals, like the Diamondbacks, like the Marlins, like the Pirates. Get those teams out of the rearview mirror and kind of just focus on the teams that are around you, whether it's the Padres, the Cubs, or the Braves. And probably the Diamondbacks to a degree. They're going to be battling with the Padres the rest of the way, and the Phillies still have to play them for 3 games at the tail end of that West Coast trip. But you find ways to distance yourself from some of these teams and work your way up the ladder. There's a real shot that this team can go into that Labor Day weekend series against the Braves and find themselves at the top of the NL East once that 4-game set is done. And then you'll get the Braves again like a week later for the final 3 games against them this year. So 7 games within like a 10-game span against the team you're hunting down right now. And if Phillies history tells you anything, this organization knows how to hunt down teams that are ahead of them in the division. They know how to hunt down a wild card spot. And I honestly think they play a little bit better when they have that chip on their shoulder and they're able to kind of just be that underdog and battle for their spot in the playoffs and battle for their spot for a division lead. We saw it back during the run, 07-08. We saw it in 2022 when they grinded for their spot in the playoffs. I think there's a real shot that they can really make this a very fun stretch run and gun for that division title again, win 3 straight division titles here in the NL East. And if they don't get there, they get in the wild card and you battle it from there. But I think a battle for this team is not necessarily a bad thing. And they just got to keep winning games to make sure that a battle actually means something. But I'm intrigued by what I've seen over the past 6 games, and I've been very impressed by just the approach that this team has had going back to the Field of Dreams game and, kind of finding a stride right here and finding a way to kind of just evolve as a roster, evolve as an offense, and they're not living and dying by the home run anymore. I think that's been a huge blow to their offense this year is that they've been dying by the home run, and now they're playing small ball and they're moving guys around. They're moving the ball, through the gaps and playing, base-to-base baseball, and it's paid dividends, especially over these last 6 games. So we'll see how that continues against the Cardinals. But coming right up here, we've got an awesome conversation with Grace Del Pizzo, talking Phillies, talking kind of just the state of the team, where they're at right now, and where they need to go if they want to make the playoffs, where we think the best spot for them is in the National League playoffs, whether it is as a wild card, whether it is as winning the division, where in the overall standings do you want them to be? Do they get the bye? We talked about a ton, plus we talked about who would be the best Broadway star on this Phillies team and a whole lot more. And our conversation with Grace Del Pizzo is going to be brought to you by our incredible pals over at turntotrades.com. Guys, turntotrades.com is going to provide so much for you out there who are looking to kind of find that next step, because turntotrades.com is a free website that helps people find a career in the skilled trades. No college required, there's no debt, and there's no catch. Everything on the website is free. There's no sign up, no paywall, nothing to buy. Who is turntotrades.com for? Maybe you didn't love school, but you're good at working with your hands. Maybe you're stuck in a job going nowhere, and you're kind of wondering what's next, what's on the horizon for you at this point. Maybe you're a parent, and your child isn't sure that college is the right move right now. Maybe you were laid off, or you're worried about AI taking your job. Turntotrades.com right now, available on their website. Hundreds of thousands of open trade jobs across the country, and you get paid while you train. Apprenticeships, that means earning, not borrowing. These jobs can't be offshored or automated because nobody is going to be outsourcing a busted furnace. Plus, there's real money to be made. Electricians, linemen, elevator mechanics, and so much more. You can clear 6 figures. On the website right now, 25 trade guides with real pay, a training path, and you get to see what the work is actually like. Salary data comes straight from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, not made-up numbers. Trade school and apprenticeship finder. This is key. You can find trade schools and apprenticeships in all 50 states at turntotrades.com. Plus, you get a free assessment that matches you to trades based on your background. Turntotrades.com was built by someone with 45 years in manufacturing that started off as an apprentice machinist and retired as a VP of operations. This isn't a marketing scheme. This is someone who actually did the work. Like I said, it's free, so go take a look for yourself. Turntotrades.com. It's down in the description of the podcast. Go check it out. They're going to see that you're using our link to check out the website and get started in your journey with the trades today. That's turntotrades.com, and we thank them for being a proud partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to kick it to our conversation, Talking Phils with Grace Del Pizzo, right here on Underground Sports Philadelphia. All right, everybody, we now welcome on a very, very, very special guest here to talk some fight and Phils, talk a little just life, and somebody that I have followed very closely for a very long time. It is the one, the only, the legendary Grace Del Pizzo joining us here on Underground Sports Philadelphia. Grace, I feel like this has been a long time coming. I've been a huge fan of your work for such a long time, and it's great to finally have you on the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. That was a very nice introduction.
We've been talking this week, just like planning you coming on the show, and all of a sudden, I think the Phillies caught wind that you were coming on and decided, hey, let's not act like idiots and go win some
Yeah.
baseball games.
Decide to actually act like a professional baseball team. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's appreciated. Much appreciated. Yeah.
What have you noticed during this little, 5-game win streak that they're on, which I'm pretty sure is the longest in Major League Baseball at the moment across the board? They have the longest winning streak going at just 5 games, but it feels like they're playing complimentary baseball again for the first time since like Don Mattingly took over when Rob Thompson was fired.
Yeah, the thing that I thought was the Achilles heel of this team heading into the season was that, I mean, this core for the past 5 years has lived and died by the home run. And for the last 4 years, they were kind of living by it. And this year, they were very much dying by it. So in the last 5 games, I mean, especially the last 2 games against the Marlins, most of their hits have been singles. Like there's been no home runs. They've been small balling their opponents to death. And I think they've found that strategy is really working. And so I think if they keep rolling with that, good things will continue to happen. I think that's the key to what's going on.
And I think one of the big like turnarounds, and not that he's played poorly whatsoever, I've actually been like really impressed with his plays. Justin Crawford and his 2-strike count, just like approach. And I feel like Luis Ariz has really rubbed off on him. And there's been like talks that, he's gone to Ariz to talk about just his plate approach and everything. And I think it's really started to reflect. And, when there's 2 strikes, I'm not nervous that Justin Crawford is going to strike out as much as he was earlier in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for a guy like Justin Crawford, the best guy to talk to is someone like Luis Ariz, someone who just hits, because Crawford has always been a contact hitter. He's not a power guy. He's a guy who gets on base and then causes havoc from there. Now, Ariz doesn't necessarily cause the havoc on the base paths, but he gets on. So I think that's the perfect guy, especially at this stage in Crawford's career. That's the perfect guy for him to talk to. So I'm glad that he's taken that advice.
And even on top of that, like Bryson Stott has become like the greatest hitter of all time over the last month and a half or so. And I've absolutely loved watching his approach at the plate. And I've joked on the show a ton that he's the greatest 6-hole hitter in Major League Baseball history, because you put him in the 6-hole and he just hits, you move him around and something just kind of disconnects a little bit. Not that he, falls apart, but it's very evident he's super comfortable in that 6-hole. What do you think, the approach is there? And I think it's just a comfortability standpoint that every manager that he's had, they come to a sense that it's like, all right, we got to keep Bryson in the 6-hole.
Yeah, I think he's just that perfect bridge guy from the top to the bottom of the order, honestly. And he's always coming into the season. I said that he would be a good leadoff guy, which I think they've tried it a couple times over the past couple of years, and it's just never really worked out. But I mean, if you look at the type of player he is, he kind of is that prototypical leadoff guy, especially with the hitting he's done recently. But yeah, I think it's just a comfortability type thing. And he's always been such a patient hitter. Like watching his at bats is honestly, it's just really intriguing to me because he's so smart with it, with the takes and the swings and everything. So I think, yeah, it's just the comfortability thing. And yeah, he's that bridge from the top of the order who has more power to the bottom who are, again, just getting on base.
And I think one of the big turnarounds, especially during this 5-game run they've been on, from, the Field of Dreams to the 2 in Minnesota and now the 2 against the Marlins, it's not just Bryce Harper taking walks. It's like everybody has become more patient in the box, including Alec Boehm. And we've seen just like a miraculous turnaround from him. And I think part of it is, hey, I'm not swinging first pitch every time, and I'm like taking pitches, and like you see the patience from him to Trey Turner. And obviously Bryce's walk rate is through the roof this year. And, he's on pace to have the most walks he's had since 2021. Like, I think that's been a huge part of this, is like somebody finally got in their ears, like, start taking pitches.
Yeah, and Boehm especially. I mean, I think he turned 30 on the trade deadline, and just somehow it all clicked. I guess maybe he needed to wait until he turned 30 to figure everything out. But yeah, his turnaround has been crazy. And he did say after the game last night that something clicked for him when he was taking batting practice before the game over in St. Louis earlier, I believe, this month. And he didn't know what it was. He couldn't elaborate on it, but something clicked. And I mean, baseball is that kind of game. Sometimes something will just fall into place and you won't know how to put it into words, but things just start working for you. And Bohm's always been a streakier player. Normally, his hot streaks have come towards the beginning or like the middle of the season. I think it's a really encouraging sign for this team that it's happening this late in the game, though.
Yeah, and I think the big thing too for the lack of hot streaks for him is, and hopefully, he avoids this. It feels like at this point in the season, he's always got some freak injury, whether like he gets hit by a
Yes.
pitch or something like that, and it throws him off of the approach that he's had that's kept him, successful at the plate. And now it's like, all right, he's got a little bit of protection in the lineup with a rise there now, and I think he's starting to see a little bit better pitch selection from opposing pitchers now that he's got a little bit of protection around him. And hopefully, Luis Arraez gets a little bit of the Kevin Long stink off of him, because it feels like he's just like, for lack of a better term, it just feels like he's forcing the at-bats right now and just trying to be that guy that we know he can be. But I think he's just like, he's overdoing it too much, and he just has to get back to like that quote-unquote simple stupid and just kind of, turn your brain off and just be Luis Arraez. You don't have to, go about and be the hero every single time.
Or just take the Nick Castellanos approach, which is I hit baseballs.
Yes.
I hit baseballs for a living. That's all I do. I think last night was a really good sign for Arraez, though. I think he had 2 hits, and both of them were just very typical. Like, one of them, he lofted it over the infield. The other one was just straight up the gap. And I think that's really encouraging because he's kind of getting back to himself a little bit. I think just the addition of Arraez has done wonders for this lineup because, like you said, Harper's got protection now. Bohm's hitting behind Arraez, so he has that protection. Like, it's completely like revamped this lineup as we know it.
And I was super skeptical about it. Like, I liked the approach of going and getting a player like Luis Arraez, but I was like, here's another left-handed bat in the lineup. Where is he going to fit? We're cycling the defense on the infield all around. You're moving Bryce back out to the outfield for the first time since 2022. I was like, is this doing more harm than it actually is doing good because of all the shifting you have to do, all the, just moving around of different guys this late in the season, of adding another left-handed hitter into an already heavy left-handed lineup. And for whatever reason so far, it's been pretty successful. What do you think is kind of the testament to it working, even though all signs point to this should not be, something that really elevated this team as much as it has?
I think Don Mattingly touched on this before the game yesterday when he was talking about what the addition of Arraez has kind of brought to the team. And he said it's just like it's flexibility. Because I believe the question was asked, like, they can put in Sosa and De La Cruz and Hill to pinch hit. And Mattingly's been more aggressive with that recently than he was when they were carrying 3 catchers on the roster because now Marchand's injured, so it's just 2. But he also said, like, Arraez, like, just being there in general has brought that flexibility because if you don't want Bohm to play, you can bring Harper in, have him play first. You can move Stott over to second if Arraez needs a day. You can move Bohm over third. You can plug Sosa in wherever. I think it's just that level of flexibility where it's not the same thing every day and the same things going wrong every day. There is that level of, that unpredictability that I think has kind of made it work. And I didn't expect it to work either. I was really like, I thought their biggest need, I think everyone thought this was their biggest need, was a righty outfielder. And then they brought in a lefty infielder at a position where the Phillies already had a Gold Glove finalist playing. So it was a confusing move. But Stott looks like a natural over at third. Bohm's made some really nice plays at first. My jury's still kind of out for Harper in the outfield. But I think overall, it's going much better than I expected it would.
Yeah, and I think part of it, approach-wise, is just the 2022 Edmundo Sosa in 2026 is Derek Hill.
Yes. I love Derek Hill. I love him. That's an energy guy.
Like, he did the meet and greet at Foley's on South, and now I just refer to him as my good personal friend, Derek Hill. And he's just incredible, and it just reminds me so much. When I talk to people about the Phillies, I'm like, Derek Hill this year reminds me of what Edmundo Sosa was to this team in 2022, where it was like a guy a little bit before the trade deadline. They went out and got him and just injected so much life into this team and has become like that cult hero where everyone loves Edmundo Sosa. Everyone loves Derek Hill now, just the way that he plays. He's putting his body on the line. He's got some of the most clutch hits for this team this year. I think that really played a part into them just kind of believing in the collective group of guys that they had. And then obviously they finally call up Brian De La Cruz, and I think he's been awesome as well.
Yeah, the Phillies haven't had a dedicated, like, pinch hitter for a really long time. And Hill is filling that role and he's filling it well. And he knows that. I mean, that's what he's done in all of his other previous stops. Like, he's been the pinch hitter. But for some reason in Philly, it's really clicking for him. And he's really credited the coaching staff with that. But yeah, and then Brian De La Cruz as well. Like, you have that flexibility where if you want to put Hill out there, you can. If you want to put De La Cruz out there, you can. I think the group of outfielders, it's not like, last year Castellanos, Marsh, Bader, where they were all killing it, but it's a collective of guys that all kind of play the same way and that all have the same goal in mind, where they are willing to be platooned and contribute where they can and pinch hit and all these kind of things, like for the greater good of the team.
How maddening was it for you, as the baseball fan I know you are, to watch this team for so long, up until the Marchand injury, carrying 3 catchers on this roster?
I never understood.
Because
I never understood.
Want to pull my hair out every single day that they were, in essence, wasting a roster spot.
Last year, I was at the press conference where Dave Dombrowski said when the rosters expanded on September 1st that he announced he was bringing up Garrett Stubbs. And I'm glad I was behind the camera for that, because I think I made a face. But I just don't understand, because now you don't have those 3 catchers on the roster, and you have, like Mattingly was saying, so much more flexibility with all these players with different strengths. You can just plug and play. I don't know what they're going to do when Marchand comes back. I know he's beginning his rehab and everything. And I think he's on track to be ready to return before September 1st. I wouldn't be shocked if you see a mysterious setback in the rehab that pushes it back coincidentally to September 1st so they can bring him back up again. I don't understand why they would, just from a personnel perspective. But it's Dave Dombrowski. I can't explain anything.
Yes.
Dave Dombrowski.
And that's my thing, too, with the whole Marchand of it all. It's like, I get you like his arm behind the plate, but outside of that, and even that this year in particular has been a little shaky. Garrett Stubbs has called better games, and I know Garrett Stubbs is a volatile figure in Phillies fandom, but you watch the games and you can tell the difference when this pitching staff, whether it be the rotation or the bullpen, are throwing pitches to JT and Stubbs versus when Marchand is catching them. And it's almost night and day when you look at just the overall statistics, whether it's Aaron Nola, Luzardo, Sanchez, Wheeler, they are better pitchers when JT is obviously catching them, but they're also better when Garrett Stubbs is catching them versus Marchand.
Yeah, the staff is really familiar with Stubbs. And I mean, they're familiar with Marchand as well, but Stubbs is just, I think he's an excellent defensive catcher. I think he's an excellent mind behind the plate. The games that he calls most of the time go really well, like you said. If he was a little bit more competent at the plate, I don't think there would be an argument for Marchand to come back up at all. I think that is a struggle when you have Stubbs batting. And, he has his moments. But, I mean, I think Stubbs is kind of everything you want in a backup catcher. And I know, again, I know that's a, controversial point in this city, because people are, honestly, I think fans are a little bit kind of sick of this team. They want to see things change. But at this point, that it is what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, even at the plate, there's not that much difference between Marchand and Stubbs. Marchand will crank a home run every so often, but at the same time, any other time, he's batting around 100 this year, and it's it's almost a wasted spot in the batting order when he's catching. And as the season progressed, I'm just why are they carrying 3 catchers? I get you don't want to potentially lose Marchand because you have to DFA him because he's out of options, but at this point, it's what value is he really bringing to the team? And that's no slight to him. He's put in work to get to where he is, but at this point, the proof is in the pudding. He can't hit major league pitching the way that I think they thought he would, especially as a switch hitting catcher. You thought that would be a benefit. And I don't know if it's something where, I remember, I think it was Roman Quinn a few years ago. He went down and they said, hey, you should really just focus on batting one side of the plate and you'll get better. And you saw the results there. I do wonder if that's something that they should work on with Marchand. Be like, hey, either focus on being a right-handed, hitter or a left-handed hitter, whatever you're more comfortable with, and just focus on that instead of the switch hitting.
I think that'd probably be a good idea. I think that would really make it simpler for him. And It was clearly a detriment to the big league roster's performance when you have two backup catchers who are both hitting around the 100 mark on your roster. So I don't understand how they could even contemplate bringing, like, maybe when the rosters expand, especially considering they've done it before with Stubbs last year. But as it stands right now, I don't know which player I would send down to bring Marshawn back up.
Yeah, everyone has been relatively productive, across the board that's
Mm.
sitting on that bench right now, whether it's De La Cruz, Derek Hill, and I'd rather have the outfield flexibility, especially with Harper out there, and the talks of, when he slows up, the knee issues and stuff. I'd rather have that as a potential replacement if you need to than having a backup catcher that's not going to see the field.
Exactly. I would rather have someone who can contribute most of the game. Like, because you're never going to pinch hit Marshawn or Stubbs for someone else. So I would rather have someone who could contribute in those situations and maybe be a better matchup than whoever's in the lineup than, have three catchers. And I know JT's getting older, and JT, maybe, I think he's still catching a ton of games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's caught the most innings of anyone at MLB. And I don't know that for sure, but I think I saw something like that. He's catching a lot of innings still. So especially in that case, I think it is a waste of a roster spot to have a third catcher on the team.
And on the flip side, on the random days that JT does get off, he's not playing unless there is a freak Marshawn injury where he came in, and that was like the first time I can remember in his Phillies career that JT had an off day and he came into a game. So
Yeah.
it's also, you reverse it there. It's like whenever JT's not playing, that roster spot is null and void. Like, he's not coming into the game.
Yeah. I just don't think it's a good idea. I really don't. And I think that I don't know who else I would call up when the roster expands. I don't want to say Otto Kemp because I know that's also a buzzword, and I actually don't know how he's been doing down in AAA.
He would need a new number too.
Yeah. The thing that I keep thinking about is that would have been Aiden Miller's spot.
Yeah.
Probably. And I know the Arise trade probably wouldn't have happened if Aiden Miller was still on track. They would have just called him up. So it's a moot point. But that's such a strange situation.
I wonder if Felix Reyes gets another chance.
Maybe. I know he's been, I think I've seen he's been slugging.
Mm-hmm. And
Which,
it feels like he's, turning on the baseball again. And I wonder if they give him another opportunity to kind of just come up, especially in, situations where Bohm is at first. Now, you can pop him over to third if you want to and put Reyes at first, give Schwarber a day off, and let him DH and kind of be in his true MLB role, because I think that's what Felix Reyes is long term. But I do wonder if he's the guy, especially with, Brian De La Cruz up, with Derek Hill. I don't know if Rincones gets the call again.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't think with the current roster construction, Rincones would get the call up.
And then, the Andrew Painter of it all is such a fascinating, storyline this year, where
Mm-hmm.
gets his second go around and it starts going well, and then he kind of has a blow up game, and you're just wondering what it's going to look like the rest of the season.
Painter's just concerning to me because, I mean, the fastball he had before his Tommy John was unreal. And it has not been the same since he returned from that. I mean, even still, like, I think the last couple starts, there's been a little bit more motion on it than there had been in the beginning of the season. But I still find it just incredibly concerning that, I mean, what is it, two years out from the Tommy John now? Two, three? It's not back yet.
Yeah.
And I know, we kind of take Tommy John for granted now.
Right.
It's a major surgery, and all these pitchers, they'll get it and then they'll come back and they'll have a little period of like recovery, but then they'll be like, okay, let's go. We're back to like who I was before. It doesn't always pan out that way, and I think people forget that.
Yeah, and I think the interesting part of it all, and I was talking to, I believe, Sheffield Shuffler. I popped up on his podcast a couple weeks ago. Like, I do wonder if when he got sent down, because we saw when he came back up, it was more so of like a cut fastball than his typical kind of just down the middle. I do wonder if Caleb Cotham tapped into Aaron Nola a little bit and said, hey, let's try to figure out if we can work on a cutter with him and get this in motion, because those first two starts back up, I was like, fastball's got a little bit of motion there. He looks comfortable. And I think if he can get a little more comfortable with throwing that cut fastball and using that type of motion to kind of evolve from the Tommy John and know that, like, hey, I'm not going to have, this motion on a 99 mile an hour fastball anymore, but I can throw a 95 mile an hour cutter and still get the same results. I think that's going to be where he progresses, and we see a little bit more of what we were expecting from Andrew Painter, just in a different kind of lens.
Yeah, I think definitely I agree with that. The beginning part of this year, I think they were trying to get the fastball back to where it was. And I think this second go around, yeah, I think that they've changed tactics and they're like, okay, let's work with what we've got right now instead of trying to be what we were. So I think it has yielded slightly better results so far. I mean, it's clearly not what he was in the beginning part of this season. So, like, that's good. I don't know if I'd necessarily trust him to pitch in a playoff game, but it's better than it was. And that's something. He's still so young. So there's a lot of room to grow there for him.
I think that's the other thing that people forget is, like, he's 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
Like, that's rare in major league. Like, not everybody's Paul Skeens getting called up right away. Like, it's rare for a 22, 23-year-old to, like, get the call to come up to the majors. And in similar vein, Justin Crawford the same way. Like, normally nowadays we're seeing guys like 25, 26 making their major league debut. In relative terms, like, they're still children, like, in the major league scope.
Exactly. I mean, we've just started getting to the point, like, I may age myself. I'm 23. So we're just now getting to the point for me where it's like there's prospects coming up that are younger than me. And I'll see that on the roster. I'm like, oh, like, oh, that's weird.
It's weird.
It's strange. I see someone with like a 2004 birthday. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. It cuts even deeper because my 15th birthday was when the Phillies won the World Series in 2008. And when I see, like, draft picks were, like, born after that, and I'm like, that's not okay. That's rough.
No.
The Dave Dombrowski of it all. Where do you stand on, because I feel like this season in particular has been very stray from the norm from what we have come to know from the Phillies front office, where they keep things very close to the vest. You don't see moves coming. I think the Luis Ariz trade is very similar in that vein, where, like, nobody saw that coming. But I think from some of the other angles where Topper gets let go, the story comes out that, Dombrowski allegedly reached out to Alex Cora. He declined, and that's how Don Mattingly comes into the fold. And now this Bob Nightingale report comes out that unless the Phillies, go on a World Series run or win the World Series, Alex Cora is lined up to be the next manager of the Phillies. And we're still about, a month and a half left of the regular season, and this team, pushing for a playoff run. It just feels very messy and very un-Phillies like that we're getting leaks and stories like this out of the front office.
And not even to mention the Bryce Harper, Dave Dombrowski of it all.
Right.
Like, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, I agree. This has been a very uncharacteristic season for the Phillies front office, and even just Dave Dombrowski. Yeah, like you said, he keeps things close to his chest. So the fact that all these things reach the light of day suggests that either he wants them to, or someone close to him who disagrees with these things wanted them to get out. And I know there was a report that the Phillies are planning on extending Dombrowski. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because back when Thompson got fired in April, I mean, you look at it, the team's 9-19. I think they might have been 10-9. No, I think they were 9-19.
Yeah, 9-19.
Yeah. I knew that they won that last game, but I couldn't remember if that was the 9th or the 10th win. But I looked at it and I'm like, look at the roster. Like, look at the roster he's dealing with. They're the same guys from 5 years ago. And, he does all this talk about we're content with our ball club. We like where we're at. Otto Kemp is going to be the second coming of Christ this season, like, and all this stuff. And I mean, none of it worked out. And not all that's under his control. Right. Brad Keller getting injured was beyond his control. There were other things that happened. I mean, Adolis Garcia, like Johan Rojas, who could have returned after his 80-game suspension, he has to get elbow surgery. He's out. So, like, there are things that have been beyond his control. But, I mean, the Phillies also have no farm system, because Dombrowski has sent many of them out the door for rentals over the last couple of years. And I know that's what you have to do when you're in a championship window. But then you get to the point here where the window is looking to be on the, the closing end unless something else happens, and you don't have anyone to send out the door to bring in anyone else.
And I think too, to that part, like, luckily in the long view, even dating back to like Ruben Amaro Jr., there's been little to no prospects that have come back to bite the Phillies in the ass in terms of them turning into anything. There's been guys that have gone on to have, lengthy major league careers, but they haven't turned into these superstars. And on top of that, like, I know a lot of people say the Phillies don't have a farm system. I think they don't have the development aspect at the farm system level. Like, I know he's been injured and he's still very, very young, but I look at a guy like Dante Nori, who like was the lone non-MLB player to make the World Baseball Classic all-world team. Like, I think there's so many pieces down there that just like have not hit the development aspect of things. And I think that's more so the cause for concern with the Phillies farm system, is that they're not developing guys until it's time for them to get to the major league level, or they need to get fast tracked to the major league level. Like, I look at somebody like a Ryan Kerkering, who is another, very polarizing player in this organization. And he was fast tracked in 2023, and he hasn't progressed because he doesn't have a third pitch. That's his biggest issue for me, is that everyone just sits on his fastball because they know he only has one off-speed pitch to throw them. And you look at guys who have been, just bumped through the system and everything, and it's been very, very few that have truly developed while they're in the minor leagues. And I think that's more so the issue. And I'm all fine with, Dave Dombrowski. And Dombrowski, throughout all of his stops, has been somebody who has been willing to ship off prospects in order to win a championship. I just don't think the Phillies have developed the prospects to net larger returns on what they're sending out.
No, I completely agree with that. I mean, if you look at, since Bryson Stott debuted in 2022, have the Phillies developed a hitting process, Justin Crawford aside, but like, have the Phillies developed a hitting prospect that can be a long-term major leaguer? No, they haven't. Johan Rojas didn't really develop the bat. Otto Kemp was struggling. Felix Reyes came up for a little bit, went back down. Gabriel Rincones came up for a little bit, went back down. And, I'm not saying none of those guys like could turn into anything, but they really don't have a good prospect development system. Like, I completely agree with that. And even from the pitching perspective, since Kerkering in 2023, has there been any homegrown guy that's come up and lit the world on fire? No.
Nope.
So I agree with that.
That's the thing too, is like you had this, ceremonial reign-in for Brian Barber coming in to be this guy who is supposed to be the king of player development at the minor league level, and the king of scouting guys that are supposed to be, able to, be developed really quickly. And it just has not worked out in any sense of the word. Like you said, Justin Crawford aside, like, there's been no hitting. And you can even look at Alec Boehm to a degree, like even before Bryson Stott. And I get he came up during the COVID season and everything, but like at the plate, there's been no real consistent development for Alec Boehm either.
He was supposed to turn into a power hitter. He's 6'5", has this giant frame, and he's never broken 25 homers in a season. It's kind of crazy to me. I know everyone harps on Kevin Long. I'm about to harp on Kevin Long. I don't know what Kevin Long's doing there.
Yeah.
I really don't.
And I even look at like the dysfunction of this season. Like, I remember the story that came out, that they didn't have a left-handed, batting practice arm because Kevin Long was still recovering from shoulder surgery. And I'm like, that's something you should have addressed in January. Like, the fact that was, part of the demise of Rob Thompson is like, these guys have nobody to hit, left-handed pitching. And you look at the way the Phillies have not been able to hit left-handed pitching this year. It's like crazy to me that was like even a thought to be like, hey, let's get somebody in here who can throw left-handed batting practice.
And they knew this was a problem. This has been a problem. And I mean, I think the numbers are kind of down. Bryce Harper's numbers against lefties are way down from where they normally are, like disgusting. So I just don't understand, like you said, I don't understand how we can look at it and go like, oh, that's fine. Like, we don't need to address that. We're content where we are.
Yeah.
Like that kind of
like
thing.
Our club.
It's like, how can you watch the same story play out for 4 years and then say, we like our club, we're good where we're at? You know how the story ends. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and I mean, the way things are playing out right now, there's a non-zero chance that the Phillies play the Dodgers in the first round of the playoffs.
There's not going to be baseball in 2027.
Nope. Nope. It's brutal. But on the flip side,
Oh my
somehow,
God.
some way, the Braves are struggling, and the Phillies are 5.5 games back in the NL East again.
Shocking. After the stretch of baseball, after the month of July, it is a miracle the Phillies are anywhere near.
I
can't believe they're still in second place.
Yes. I can't remember a month like this from this era of Phillies baseball where not only, like, post All-Star break, not only were they just losing in the most frustrating and agonizing fashion, they were doing it at home. Like, this team they've been world beaters at home since 2022, even dating back to 2021. Like, before the playoff run started, they have dominated at Citizens Bank Park, and they're just a couple of games over 500 this year at the bank.
It's shocking. It really is. And I mean, I don't know if I think it's still true. I think there's only been like 8 or 9 sellouts so far this season, which says to me that the fans are kind of getting fed up as well. And I mean, we've seen that sentiment online, but I talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago. The Phillies put out like a ballpark pass for August, which is great. It's like you could get all 13 home games standing room only for $125, which again, great deal. But in the last 5 years, have you seen the Phillies have to do anything like that?
Nope. It's always been April and September.
So that says to me that there's a problem, that you can't sell out, or you can't sell the number of tickets in August that you've been selling. Suggests that there's some fatigue going on in the city. And I really do think that there is.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at just this roster in general, like you say, it's been the same roster with a couple of additions here and there. And, you know, I look at what Dombrowski has done since he's come in, and I genuinely have talked about this, and I'm like, there's maybe 5 moves that he's made that have been like long-standing, like year over year, that guy is like a core part of this team. And add anybody that you feel should be added here if I miss anyone. Edmundo Sosa is one.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Luzardo is another.
Mm-hmm.
I think as of right now, the Jonathan Bolin move has been a slam dunk, especially with Matt Strahm getting DFA'd. Obviously, you know, Kyle Schwarber is in that mix, and re-signing Kyle Schwarber is a no-brainer. Like, I think, you know, a zoo animal would have been able to do that.
Yeah.
You could go and get one of the meerkats at the Philadelphia Zoo to re-sign Kyle Schwarber, and it would have been done. Those 4 in particular really stand out to me, and then Brandon Marsh.
I was going to say I would throw Brandon Marsh in there, especially with how Hoppy's panned out for the Angels. I would absolutely throw Marsh in that conversation.
Those are the 5
well.
that really stand out to me. And I mean, the jury's still out. Like, we'll see if he gets, you know, re-signed or stays with the team. But like, Derek Hill has been great this year. We'll see if it's a year-over-year move. But like, those are the 5 moves that are guys that are still here, that will be here, because obviously Bolin has, you know, 4 or 5 more years of team control before he even hits arbitration. Like, that have improved this team. Everything else has been a swing and a miss, or just a complete disaster across the board.
What do you think of the Turner contract then? I find it interesting you didn't throw him in there.
I also forgot somebody that people are screaming, Joan Duran.
Oh.
Joan Duran.
Okay, listen, I forgot Duran too.
The Turner contract, I was stoked when we signed Trey Turner initially. I was like, this is the move you had to make. I know the defense hasn't been, you know, what you want at shortstop, but like, it's serviceable, and you're really signing him for his bat. As the years have gone on, like, I heard this stat the other day. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Do you know when Trey Turner's last extra base hit in the playoffs was?
Oh God. I don't think it's been with the Phillies. Or if it was in 2023.
Game 1 against the Diamondbacks in 2023 was
wow.
Trey Turner's last extra base hit in the playoffs.
Wow. That's really bad.
Everything else has been singles in terms of the hits he's gotten in the postseason.
$300 million.
$300 million. well
Ugh.
below average defense.
Mm-hmm. And
And
average hitting this year, if that.
if that.
The OPS starts with a 6.
Yeah, that's the concern. Is I just want Trey Turner to just stand in the box. Like, just get on base. Walk as much as you want. I want Trey Turner to have, like, 40 walk seasons, 50 walk seasons, because he's even at his age, he's still one of, if not the fastest player in Major League Baseball, base path to base path. And he's going to steal bases when he's on first. Like, he's going to go and get stolen bases for you, and that's where he is most valuable. And he just continues to, like, flail at pitches for
Swing at the first pitch all the time.
It drives me nuts. And I saw this video that I think Alex Call on Twitter put it out, and it was a parallel of Trey's time with the Dodgers versus what he's been this season with his swing mechanics. And Trey is literally swinging off balance this year compared to what he was with the Dodgers.
I've seen he's going down to his knee.
Yeah,
a bunch.
And his feet are inverted so that he's bringing his bat way far back. And by the time he's ready to swing through, that's why he's not driving the ball, because he can't get his head down. When he's with the Dodgers, he's parallel up and down, like straight as a board. And then he's getting his head down and driving the ball out. And that's where his power came from. Right now, like, even now when he's, kind of figured some things out at the plate, it's just like, dude, why are you swinging at the first pitch every single time? You're getting yourself off balance, and you have to battle through every at-bat because you're down 0-1 before you even step into the box, because your entire mindset is, oh, I'm just going to swing first pitch.
Yeah, he used to have this beautifully, like, inline balanced swing. I thought his swing was one of the prettiest in baseball, because it was. I think it was him. Also, Bohm. I really liked Bohm's swing. I liked how long that was, and still is. But Turner, and yeah, I think this season it's been so offline. Like you said, it's clearly, I mean, you don't have to be like a baseball lifer to look at that and realize that you probably shouldn't be going down to your knee every time you try to swing for the fences. Like, that's not sustainable. And I know, again, I'm going to harp on Kevin Long again. I know the players like Kevin Long. I know Trey Turner is one of the guys that like Kevin Long because they were together in Washington. Kevin Long is not their friend.
No.
Kevin Long is not the friend of any of their swings. I think most, if not all, of their swings have suffered under Kevin Long. I thought Kevin Long was going to go when they sent Thompson packing. I don't know why he didn't.
I have a, for lack of a better term, a conspiracy with that. I think they were going to fire Kevin Long when they were 9-19, and Topper fell on the sword for him.
Really?
That's my take on the whole situation, because no matter what they've been through, every single player has talked glowingly about Topper. I don't think Dombrowski, Middleton, and the whole front office viewed Topper as the issue, and I think they were getting ready to fire Kevin Long, and I think Topper fell on the sword to prevent it, knowing that these guys have a good camaraderie with him, and it was one of those things that, Topper and Kevin Long have a good relationship, and he didn't want to see his guy go, and I think Topper took the blow for Kevin Long.
That's interesting. I mean, that's very in character from what I know of Rob Thompson. That's extremely in character. And I mean, I could also get on board with that theory, especially because if you're Dave Dombrowski, you've already ticked off Bryce Harper in the offseason. Now, 2 weeks in or a month in or whatever, do you really want to go and fire Bryce Harper's favorite hitting coach? Like, you've already called him not elite. Now you're going to send his guy packing. So I could see it. I alleged.
Right. Totally,
Of course. This is a theory. But I could get on board with the theory. I could see if that happened, I would not be surprised.
Kevin Long is Kyle Schwarber's guy, and you just re-signed Schwarber to this long-term deal, and you want to make him, a Philly legend, which I think he already is, but, like, you don't want to irritate a guy you just signed to a long-term contract. You don't want to irritate Trey Turner. You already, like you said, you already pissed off Bryce Harper enough. Like, and allegedly they've made up, that report that came out that Dombrowski and him talked in the clubhouse or whatever. But, you have a bunch of these guys who had, connections to Kevin Long from DC and other spots. And I think Topper recognized that and was like, hey, I'll see my way out. You continue to be here. I trust Don Mattingly, and you guys will get it done.
I don't think Thompson was the problem whatsoever. I've never thought that. I think someone had to go in the state that they were in, that 10-game losing streak. I've never been so apathetic about baseball before in my entire life as I was watching that, because you turn it on and you're like, you know what's going to happen from the get-go, and it kept happening. So I think someone had to go. Mattingly's done an okay job. Recently, he's been a little iffy with the bullpen management.
Yeah, I'm very glad they and another move I'll say on Dombrowski's part, getting rid of Seth Johnson was the greatest thing.
That was a great move, because Mattingly would have run Seth Johnson into the ground and he would have kept doing it.
Loved that guy. I don't know if he just had some sort of weird, it got him fired up to watch Seth Johnson just throw meatballs out there, but he loved throwing him out there any chance he got. And that's the thing that really annoys me with Don Mattingly is it feels like he doesn't have feel for a lot of the guys. And that's where I think Rob Thompson was so elite, is he understood his players through and through. And that's what really made him such a great manager for this team. And I think the people who were really calling for Topper to be fired are recognizing damn, this guy was dealing with a less than subpar situation and made it look really, really good. And maybe we were in the wrong, but you look at what Don Mattingly does with, taking guys out of games when they say they don't want to. I think the one that really stood out to me was the whole Christopher Sanchez one, when, he only threw 89 pitches and Mattingly tells the media that, he was done, and JT said he felt like he was out of gas. And then Sanchez goes and talks, and Diego translates and says, I never wanted to be taken out of the game. And
he was clearly upset.
You never hear that from Christopher Sanchez either. And I was like, that's a bit of a red flag. The whole Zach Wheeler issue when he wouldn't let him finish 5. There's been some scenarios with guys on this team who I think have earned the right to kind of go out and, live by the sword, die by the sword on the mound. And then when it comes to the bullpen management, I'm perplexed in so many of these scenarios when he's bringing guys in, and I'm just like, why is what I'm always asking myself. Why is Jose Alvarado coming in key situations? Why is Orion Kerkering coming in these high leverage situations when they clearly have shown you all year long they don't have it in those moments? And it's not because it's the moment, or it's just they have been horrendous this year in big time spots, especially Jose Alvarado, which is in his Phillies tenure has not really been the case outside of when he's been brought in with runners on base. Now it's Jose Alvarado comes in and he's the one putting guys on base, and then he's getting himself into trouble like we've known him to do.
And then Kerkering comes in to try to clean that up.
Right.
Which Kerkering's not a cleanup guy.
No.
At all. I feel for Ryan Kerkering. Something like the ending of last season just has to be so devastating. And I mean, it is. They've written all kinds of articles. He's talked about it a bunch of just how, he was like, it's over. Well, it's not over, but he was like, this is terrible. If I was managing a Ryan Kerkering, I would take that into account. And I would say, I'm going to do the best I can to not put you in these situations, as to not make that confidence even worse. And they keep putting him in these situations and it keeps not working out. And I think a guy like Kerkering is probably looking at it and going well, can I do it?
Mm-hmm.
So I would think, and he's also so young. I think he's 24?
Yeah.
25 maybe? This is the start of a long career. So I would think that you would want to protect the mentality of that player.
I was also pretty surprised because he felt like somebody they could use in a trade at this deadline. I was kind of surprised that he wasn't moved in some sort of package to go and get an additional piece, because I genuinely thought, and I was yelling when Nola took that ball off his knee, and I was like, there you go, Dave. You didn't go and get the starting pitcher you needed.
You ran out of time.
That really annoyed me. That was another thing. Ran out of time. Dave, you've had all year to go and get another starting pitcher. You didn't
Yeah.
have to wait until the deadline. And
They didn't do anything after 11 a.m. on the trade deadline.
Like, that feels like his MO, too, is like they wait until the last possible minute to go and get guys. And I'm like, you had so long to go and get out. Like, you could have gotten Casey Mize. You could have gotten Robbie Ray. And now the Padres
you could have gotten Reed Detmers or something.
Right. Like, now the Padres are trying to gun you down in the wild card, and they went and got both of those guys.
And they're succeeding.
Exactly.
They can't lose.
It drives me nuts. And then when Nola took that comebacker, and I'm like, we're really trusting Andrew Painter a lot again. Like, I feel like I'm having deja vu because we did this early in the year, and I'm just like, and then the whole run where Sanchez struggled, Wheeler's been struggling to get through 5 innings, and I'm like, why did we not go get another starting pitcher?
I don't understand. I thought that was the main thing. Like I said right after the deadline, I'm like, I like the Arise move. I like the bullpen moves. I don't understand. Like, I can't call this a success because they didn't go get a starting pitcher. Because who do you have in the minors? Ronhell? And granted, I like Ronhell a lot. He's actually been really solid in the spots where, like, they've needed him to be. You know, he hasn't been perfect, but for a makeshift fifth starter, he's been doing okay. But, I mean, unless you're really going to try to fast-track Gage Wood, which I actually think is still an option. I think we might see Gage Wood this year if the cards fall that way. Who do you have?
There's and even like longer term, there's not that many guys that are in even their top 30 that you could even say like, oh yeah, this guy is like, you know, good to go. Like their next top pitching prospect on the MLB, like top 30 after Gage Wood, is Cade Obermueller, who is in high A ball right now.
Awesome.
He's their 11th best prospect according to the top 30, and he's in high A ball, 23 years old.
Awesome. High A at 23. Okay, I think he was drafted last year, right?
I believe so.
Or 2 years ago. I know he was recent. I think they drafted like a couple. They drafted a couple college pitchers this year that I think could get. They drafted a couple older college pitchers this year. Like I think Riojas out of Texas, he was their third rounder.
Mm-hmm.
He's 23, but he's like pretty polished and developed. And I think they made a point of like drafting some pitchers who could be fast tracked if necessary. I don't think we're going to see any of the 2026 guys this year, but they did that last year too. They really focused on the pitching.
And then, you know, you have Moses Chaussee like in Double A. Like
Mm-hmm.
I should say I've loved what I've seen from Alex McFarland out of the bullpen.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why he wasn't here sooner. Like he's got the stuff, and like I think it's one of those things that like they obviously wanted to have him prepared bullpen wise, but I think that's a huge addition for this team, you know, down the stretch, to have a guy like that with his arsenal of pitches and the movement he has. That's going to be a big time addition to this bullpen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just remembered this. I'm backtracking a little bit. I also think one of Dave Dombrowski's cardinal sins heading into the season was continuing to roster Taijuan Walker.
And
I forgot about that until just now. That man was on that roster this year. Yeah. Oh, he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
He didn't have it last year.
No, over the year before.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I know they couldn't get out of it because it was a big contract. I think that is the biggest swing and miss Dombrowski made.
Yeah.
Castellanos is right after that because he actually did some good things.
Right.
The Walker contract was the worst thing that could have happened to this team.
Yeah. I mean, giving him, and I get, you know, going into 2023, like he had a great year with the Mets the year prior, and you know, 2023 wins 15 games for you, and you're like, whoa, this guy's like, you know, great signing. But like, Taijuan's always been, because I've followed his career for a long time too, dating back when he was in Seattle, when he was in Arizona. Like, he's your prototypical number 4, number 5 starter. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that gas runs out pretty quick, and it clearly ran out for Ty. And you know, I just giving him 4 years and almost $100 million. It was a head scratcher to me, even at the time when it looked like, oh, like this guy was great. We're signing him away from the Mets, like. It was like, that's a lot for a number 4, number 5 starter.
I would have given him probably 2 years at the most.
Right.
Or even a 1 year prove it.
Right, or like a 1-and-1 type thing. Like,
Yeah.
I was just perplexed, especially with that amount of money for someone at his age too. I was like,
Yeah.
that's a huge investment for a guy that type of money typically gets given to like the upper echelon number 3 starter, the number 2 starter for someone in free agency. And I was like, we're giving that to Taijuan Walker? Like, what is happening?
Yeah. It feels like Dombrowski has committed some pretty ludicrous overpays in his contracts. I mean, giving Nick Castellanos, okay, to be fair, Castellanos was really good before he joined the
Yes.
Phillies. He was really good with the Reds. So, like,
And
I can
even for
understand that
2.5
contract.
years, he was awesome for the
Yeah.
Phillies. And I
Yeah.
know the defense wasn't there. And I think the big thing, too, was, you brought Castellanos in thinking he was going to be your DH at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Thought Schwarber was going to be able to hang in left field for a little bit. Harper was still in right field at the time. And then it all shifted, and Castellanos had to go out and play the field, where that's not his typical strong suit. And I think a lot about the lineup just shifted when Bryce Harper's elbow went. And you see what, Castellanos had those moments and, big time playoff home runs and stuff. And then it just trickled down. And I think he's really the only person that ever butted heads with Rob Thompson.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was too. And I think the issues that the Phillies have had with the cleanup spot, both this year and last year, are due to the fact that Castellanos was supposed to be that guy. He had the payroll to be that guy. He was being paid to be that guy in those spots, and he just wasn't living up to that end of the bargain, especially last year. And then you have Bohm, who was, I think while he hasn't been excellent, I don't think he was ever meant to be the cleanup guy. I think circumstances have put him in that spot, and he's received a lot of flack from people when it should be going to Castellanos, who was supposed to be in that spot, but ended up hitting 6th or 7th all the time because he didn't have the bat in the last couple of years of the contract. But yeah, I don't think everything can be pinned on Dombrowski. Sometimes things just play out the way that they do, but some decisions were head scratchers from the beginning.
Yeah, and just the veteran band-aids that he is trying to put on this team, from Whit Merrifield to
Austin Hayes
to Max Kepler to Adolis Garcia. Like, I understood the prospect of Adolis Garcia, but to think a guy was going to revert back to a modern day 6 weeks Dominic Brown type player that he was in 2023, like, we haven't seen that from him in 2 years, and it wasn't there again this year. And then obviously he gets hurt. Like, the defense was great. He was almost the inverse of 2022-2023 Nick Castellanos, where the defense was great, but the plate approach was horrendous. And then another Band-Aid comes across today. I don't know if you've seen this yet. The Phillies signed Nestor Cortez.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah. Where are they are they going to start him?
He's signed to a major league contract.
Has he ever pitched out of a bullpen before? I've always considered him a starter.
With the Yankees?
I know he was good with the Yankees for a couple years there, but I think I saw he had like a 6-something ERA last year.
Yeah, and then he had the in his throwing arm elbow issue or something like that, shoulder issue, and he was pitching for teams yesterday, and the Phillies said, let's jump on that. Yeah, with the Padres last year in 6 starts, a 5.47 ERA, and he only got through 2 games in 2025 with Milwaukee, where he posted a 9 ERA.
Dave Dombrowski loves taking his flyers.
He loves those veteran Band-Aids.
Is this the Walker Buehler from last year? Like,
yeah, that's another Band-Aid that, like, I genuinely kind of wanted Walker Buehler back in the offseason.
He wasn't bad.
No,
he wasn't bad. I would have taken Walker Buehler over Taijuan Walker any day in the rotation.
100%.
I know he's not doing great wherever he is now, but he's not doing bad either.
I think he's with the Padres.
I think he is. Yeah, the Padres, who signed a bunch of veterans, and it's actually panning out for them. I am shocked.
Every time.
That never works. And maybe it'll all fall apart, because sometimes it does. Baseball's very strange, but like.
Yes.
That's weird.
It's such a strange thing. And I mean, hey, like, cool, Nestor Cortez, like another lefty. Like, I don't know what the plan is for him. I don't know.
I know.
If it's like, this is our in case of emergency, Andrew Painter, continues to combust, like we're going to throw Nestor Cortez out there. But such a
I don't know.
fascinating, like, again, another Phillies move that they keep things close to the vest. Like, you never see it coming. And now, like, I don't know what to make of a move like that, especially like at this point in the season.
And it's very out of the box because there's no clear role where you're like, oh, he's going to fill that. Like normally there is. Like normally the team needs a right-handed hitting outfielder. They go pick one up.
Yeah.
Was there a need for Nestor Cortez on the roster?
Right. Apparently he had a torn tendon in his throwing arm that he underwent surgery for in October of 2025. So last October.
Okay.
So he's less than a year removed.
Well, that injury could have explained his performance in 2025.
Yeah. And I'm seeing here that potentially they go to a 6-man rotation for a little bit with how Wheeler and Sanchez have performed.
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind trying that out. I know they did that for a little bit last year, and then they did the Walker piggyback. Maybe they could start piggybacking him with like Painter or something.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I genuinely like. It's not often I look at something and I'm like, I have no idea where this would fit. I got nothing for this one.
On top of that, like, I guess, if somebody were to go down, like, you don't have to call Ron Hell or Brian Keller up again. Like, you have somebody with Major League experience. I'm wondering who gets sent down to make room for him on the roster.
That is a good point.
Because you sign him to a major, it's not like you sign him to a minor league contract and you're letting him get warm. Like, he's going to be on the Major League roster.
Let me look at the roster. Let me pull that up.
This is
This is strange. Okay, let me see. Okay, wait, I'm like really struggling to pull up the roster right now.
Let's see.
Okay, roster. There we go. Could send Sugar back down.
That's true. They love.
I think They do. I think he's the only bullpen guy right now that they might send McFarland back down.
That would be such a mistake.
That would suck. Yeah, because in the bullpen right now you have Alvarado, Bolin, Kerkering, Meza, McFarland, Raley, and Sugar. And I think it would be either Sugar or McFarland if they send down a pitcher, which I assume they would. Because otherwise, I mean, and maybe like one of the outfielders.
You want to go lefty for lefty, and Sugar throws. Does Jose Alvarado get a phantom IL?
Oh, that could be something. Maybe he's gonna get a right index finger blister or something like that.
You have Alvarado, Tim Meza, Brooks Raley are your left-handed relievers in the bullpen right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Sugar, McFarland, Kerkering, Bolin, Duran. It's probably going to be Sugar if I had to guess.
I just don't know how many options Sugar has left because they've been moving him a lot this year. Yeah.
And I mean,
he's gone up and down like 3 separate times.
From an outfield perspective, I feel like they don't want to hamper themselves, especially with Bryce being in the outfield, and they've been doing a bunch of the defensive replacement stuff late in games. Like, I feel like you want to have those options, whether it be Brian De La Cruz or, if Derek Hill get a start and then you bring Justin Crawford in, like.
Yeah, I don't know if they were going to send an outfielder down, it would probably be De La Cruz, but I don't think they should.
Yeah, not at all.
Especially with the Harper situation. Like, that's so fluid, and you never know how his body's going to react over the next month to whatever's going on. And the elbow's already a concern.
Right. And I could be wrong, but I think when they called De La Cruz up, it, like, guaranteed his contract.
Okay.
They had to wait, like they had until July, like a certain date in July, to call him up or release him. And I think when they called him up, either part of or all of his contract was guaranteed the rest of the year, just because of his service time potentially or something. I think I remember something in the realm, but such a fascinating signing that makes you like scratch your head in terms of who moves where does this come into play? Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. I'm not seeing anything yet on like what he would be doing.
Yeah, I see Ty Daubert on Phillies Nation put out that he could potentially go on some sort of optional or rehab assignment in the minors before he gets called up to the Phillies, but
Okay.
it
I think
remains to be
Bueller
seen.
did that, but he signed a minor league contract first.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he signed a minor league contract and then they called him up. Yeah, because the Red Sox released him, and I don't think Nestor was on a roster this year, so he was just a
No. Yeah, I
free
think
agent.
he was a free agent all year.
Yeah, Bueller made one start for the Iron Pigs and then joined the Major League Club in September. So maybe he's a September call-up? Question mark?
Maybe.
Such a fascinating. I did not see Nestor Cortez on Dave Dombrowski's bingo card.
No. No, his bingo card's normally like Lane Thomas, Luis Arai.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Who
the
else has
same.
been a Dave Dombrowski, like, oh, that guy's a Philly.
Oh God. There's a couple outfielders. Joe Adell,
Yes.
Alex Call, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like it's like the fringe outfielders
Uh-huh.
who can hit sometimes, who are the like the
Now,
trade targets.
I know there's not going to be baseball in 2027, but now I need to see who the free agent outfielders are that Dave will try to sign before the CBA is up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, take a good look at that.
Let's see. All
Jeez.
positions, outfielders. All right, we've got some fun names here.
Oh, boy.
Another one is Jock Peterson. But I think
always.
Jock Peterson did that to himself when he posted that picture with him and the Fanatic.
Yeah.
We've got George Springer. Trent Grisham feels like a Dave Dombrowski guy.
Yeah. That's been linked.
Randy Arozarena.
Also was a target this year.
Oh, the ultimate Dave Dombrowski guy, Taylor Ward.
Oh my God! I can't believe I forgot Taylor Ward. Oh my God, that was the
newly
main
minted
one.
Dalton Varsho.
Mm-hmm.
Luis Robert.
I don't think that one's worth it at this point, but that's been a name for years. Yeah.
Guy. Lane Thomas is a free agent. Randall Grichuk.
Oh, he's also he's been linked to. It's like all the outfielders.
Yeah. Cedric Mullins.
That was a name like 2 years ago, I think, when the Orioles were serviceable.
Ramon Laureano, that was another guy a couple years ago. I remember being in Phillies rumors. A guy that I wanted them to sign, Miguel Andujar.
Yeah, he's been doing like okay, right?
I'm intrigued to see where Starling Marte ends up after he got released. Because that was a guy that I thought if the Phillies went in and got Michael Wacha, that they'd try to pair the package with Starling Marte.
Yeah.
Now that he's released, and I know the Phillies, quote unquote, don't need outfield help right now, but like he has not had a bad year, and you wouldn't owe him damn near anything in terms of money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it couldn't hurt.
I think he was hitting like 242 for the Royals this year, and he's 38 years old. Like, you could do a lot worse, and the Phillies have done a lot worse.
Yeah, seriously. Austin Hayes comes to mind.
Yes. I've been looking at the Phillies and the Braves schedules up until Labor Day weekend when they meet up with each other at Citizens Bank Park. And the Phillies fumbled early on in that St. Louis series, but you look at who the Phillies have upcoming on their schedule after this Marlins series concludes as we record this on Wednesday. This weekend, they get the Cardinals again, this time at Citizens Bank Park, before we have Phillies After Dark for a while. And they go to Seattle, they go to the Angels, and then they go to the Diamondbacks, all before the Braves come to town. This is the time that if the Phillies want to make Labor Day weekend, like, them be the spectacle of the town before the Eagles get going, you have to go and win these series. Like, these are all teams you should be able to easily take 2 out of 3 from and or sweep.
Absolutely. Especially with, Seattle has been a nightmare this year. They got beat 22-0 on Tuesday. That was insane. But yeah, the card, especially these two series, it's really important the Phillies are taking the first two from Miami, because Miami and St. Louis are neck and neck, like 3 games out of the wild card. So these two series are really important. And then, yeah, just proving that they can beat those lesser opponents is going to be really important. And I think the Arizona series is actually going to depend on if Ketel Marte is playing or not.
Is
That's a
he in
situation.
Arizona?
No one knows. I think he is. I think he did. He flew back to get an MRI after the manager said that he was fine.
That was such a fascinating 3 or 4 hours on Twitter.
There's always something with the Diamondbacks.
We had one of the Spanish reporters reporting that he was DFA'd, and I was like, what?
Yeah. I think he mixed him up with Starling.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
probably.
It had to be. I
Yeah.
was just like, if every other team in baseball is not going after this guy, like, there's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And he's the best player on that team.
Yeah.
So that would have been shocking. I
And
mean,
on top of
as someone who spent 4 years in Arizona,
yeah,
he's the guy.
right. And on top of that, while the Phillies have been on this 5-game win streak, the Braves have been on a 5-game losing streak.
Yeah.
So, like, you've clawed back, and, you know, the Braves over last weekend got swept by the Diamondbacks. They lost this series to the Twins, and right now, as we're recording, this is the bottom of the fourth, and the Twins are winning 1-0. So
really? Okay.
They could be on the verge of getting swept by the Twins. And then the Braves have a makeup game against the White Sox in Chicago tomorrow at 2 p.m., being on Thursday, before they go to Milwaukee for 3 games to play the Brewers in a weekend series. And then they go home to play the Dodgers.
Oh, my God. I was going to say, that's a lot of travel. That's crazy. Then you're like, and then they go home, and I'm like, oh, that's no big deal. They play the Dodgers.
They go home to play the Dodgers. They're at home against the Rockies. They have a makeup game at home on August 31st against the Giants at home. And then they go to D.C. for 2 games. Weird. The Braves have had so many, like, rain out, weird, like, rescheduled games. They have
2 makeup games
DC,
is crazy.
And then 4 at home for the Phillies against the Braves Labor Day weekend.
Wow. That's a really bad schedule. That's a really bad time to be slumping.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
In there, the Phillies have this final game against the Marlins. They have 3 against the Cardinals, 3 against the Mariners, 3 against the Angels, 3 against the Diamondbacks.
That ain't bad.
Like,
that's very favorable. They need to capitalize. Just out of curiosity, I'm gonna check the Marlins too, because they're like not super far behind. They have this last game of the Phillies series on Wednesday. Then they have Washington at home, Boston at home. Then they go to Washington for 4 games. Then they go to Kansas City. And then Labor Day weekend, they have the Cubs at home. So that's like meh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Washington in there.
That is a lot of Washington.
Their closing stretch is crazy, though, because after that, they have the Mets at home, the Dodgers at home. They go to Arizona. They go to San Diego. They go to Chicago to play the Cubs, and then they close out with the Braves. So their pre-Labor Day is like, okay, and then their post-Labor Day is like, go, 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 go. That's not the slate you want to have if you're trying to claw your way into the playoffs.
Which right now they're 4 games back of the final wild card spot, which belongs to the Padres, which would be a fascinating Padres-Braves series to kick off the playoffs if the playoffs started today. Where do you want to see the Phillies wind up? Obviously, we all want to see them win the division. We want to see them be at the top of the NL East as much as possible. But in a perfect world, where do you think is the best spot for the Phillies when it comes to the playoff push for them to end up? Is it in, a top 2 wild card and having to go to Wrigley to play the white hot Chicago Cubs and, feels like everyone's rallying behind them and rallying behind PCA and all of them? Is it falling into the 3rd wild card and playing the Braves or risking playing the Dodgers? Like, where do you see the best fit for the Phillies? And obviously, if they win the NL East, like, they'd potentially be either in the number 1 or the number 2 or the number 3, especially depending on what the Brewers do. But I keep going back and forth of where I want to see them wind up.
I actually have a hot take here. I would rather the Phillies be a wild card team. From history, the bye has not been kind to the Phillies. And I think that they honestly just play better when they're playing from behind. like when they're the underdogs. I think that that gives them more of a chip on their shoulder, more motivation to perform better. And I mean, this is just me spitballing, but from what we've seen on the field, I would rather they start on a wild card and just go straight into the wild card games, be like, all right, here we go. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep it rolling, especially if they close out the season strong. That's where I would want them to be, because their two deepest playoff runs have come from that standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, they're 5 games back of the Cubs for the top wild card to kind of lock in the home series, unless they win the division and get that third, spot in the NL leaders standing, and then they'd
Mm-hmm.
host whomever the third wild card spot would be. That's kind of where I want them to end up, is being the division winner, but having to play wild card weekend and playing at home. On top of that, it's like in a short series, I'd take their rotation over damn near anybody in the National.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. If you have Wheeler, Sanchez, Luzardo, I would trust those 3 pitchers with my life.
Yes.
In the playoffs, especially.
And I mean, you look at who, if they do wind up in that third spot, whether it's the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Cardinals, the Marlins, I think everyone else is kind of relatively out of it for the most part. Pittsburgh may get sneaky, but they're 4 games under 500 right now. But you look at those teams, and if the Phillies are able to sweep the Marlins, they fall to 500 on the year, and they'd fall 5 games back potentially. But I trust the Phillies pitching against the Diamondbacks for sure. I trust it against the Padres, just in terms of overall success against that team over not just this season, but the past couple of years against the Padres and in the playoffs. And even though that St. Louis series was ugly, the Phillies are clearly a better team than the Cardinals right now.
Yes, absolutely. I think the pitching was all wonky for the Phillies in that Cardinals series. I don't think that's what would happen in a high leverage scenario. I think it would be cool if the Phillies went to Wrigley, or even I think it would be better if the Cubs came to Philly.
Yes.
I think if those two end up with the top 2 wild cards, which is looking at this point, I mean, if the playoffs start today, that's what would happen. The Phillies would go to Wrigley, and Wrigley's its own beast, but I think the Cubs are beatable.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are ways that you can beat the Cubs, especially I believe Dansby Swanson just went down for a month.
That's tough.
Which is big for them.
Yeah,
I think he strained something.
You look at their pitching, I know they traded for Kevin Gausman at the deadline, and I think that was a smart move by them, but their pitching is beatable.
Yes.
They do not have what I would consider playoff caliber pitching outside of a Kevin Gausman. Shota is Shota Imanaga. He's a solid pitcher. He's not somebody that I'm having the fear of the baseball gods struck into my soul.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Savali, that's supposed to intimidate Matthew Boyd. We saw what happened when he pitched in Milwaukee last year. He got
they did get Clay Holmes. They did get Clay Holmes,
who I think is also beatable, and there's familiarity for this Phillies team with Clay Holmes from his time with the Mets.
Yeah,
I look at their pitching staff, and I'm just nothing really intimidates me about their pitching.
I agree with that.
Their offense, on the other hand, I'm all right.
Oh, I would not want to face PCA in the playoffs.
PCA, Alex Bregman, Nico Horner,
Ian Happ,
Seiya Suzuki,
the
ghosts of Michael Conforto's past. There's offensive guys on that team that I'm all right, that would be a grind, and that would, again, it feels like the same story over and over again. This offense would have to show up in the playoffs, and they have to show that they can do that.
That's a tall order for this group.
Yeah. And then you got to factor in Cubs fans in the playoffs. That's a scary time.
I have many friends who are Cubs fans. I consider them kindred spirits.
Yeah.
to Philly sports fans, I consider them very similar. They have suffered. They've suffered a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think that has made them that much stronger. I know that they won a World Series and everything, but consider that they're also Bears fans.
Yeah.
So they really suffer.
Bears fans, most of them, their parents have experienced the highs and lows of the Bulls, but most of them have been in absolute purgatory with them. most of them had been in purgatory with the Blackhawks. Like, there's a lot of similarities there for sure.
Yeah, I would not really want to go to Wrigley. I think it would be I think it would be cool, but I think the atmosphere would be killer. Yeah, it would be very difficult.
Where do you think the Phillies have to be in the standings divisional wise going into Labor Day weekend to really make that 4-game set against the Braves feel like, all right, this is the most important series of the season so far?
Well, I think it would be great if they were within 4, so there was a chance. That could be realistic at this point. I mean, you have 2 weeks left. The Phillies are 5-5. They're not 5-5. They're 5.5 games back. Numbers. They're 5.5 games back. It's possible, especially if the Braves keep playing the way they do. But I think even if they were within like 6 games and they could cut that lead down to 3 or something that would really make it meaningful throughout the last month of the season, I think that would be an ideal scenario.
Because it's also not the last time they'll play each other. They do play in Atlanta September 11th, 12th, and 13th as the final time they'll see them. So they have 7 games against the Braves within a 10-day span or something.
But they haven't played the Braves in it feels like months.
Yeah.
It probably is months.
I think the last time we played the Braves was, if I'm not mistaken, right when Topper got fired.
It might have been. I think, yeah. Wow.
I look back on,
maybe there was something. Was it actually? Because I know they played a lot in the beginning.
The end of April, I think, is the last time.
Wow.
The Phillies and Braves saw each other, and that was down in Atlanta, April 24th, 25th, and 26th.
I know they took that last game against the Braves, I think, and then Topper got fired.
Yeah, it was.
Or maybe that was a series after that.
Yeah, they won the 25th, and then they lost on the 26th, and then Topper was fired.
Right.
The next day,
right.
Because that was that Monday off day.
Because
it was a weekend series in Atlanta, and then they played early April, and the Braves swept them April 17th, 18th, and 19th, and then like a week later, they won 1 game against the Braves. So it's been since April that these two teams have seen each other, and I don't think the Braves have changed all that much, but I feel like they've kind of like come back down to earth after, their hot start to the year, and they're still playing good baseball, but I feel like they're a much more beatable team than they were in April, May, and June than they are now.
That's always the danger when a team starts that hot. I mean, we saw how it ended with the Phillies in 2024. They were the first team to 30 wins. Like, they were going crazy before the All-Star break, and then just the wheels fell off the wagon. So it's a thing. I mean, I think it's better to get hotter towards the end of the year, obviously, because that leads to like championships and stuff. You can't count them out because they have shown that they can be that good, but they kind of maybe used all their gas in April, May, June.
Yeah. And I mean, right now, still the Twins are winning 1-0. Come on, Cody Clemens and company. Like, let's get a sweep there.
Jeff Hoffman.
Yes. The Phillies farm system in Minnesota.
Seriously.
Grace, I've always been curious because I've been a huge fan of what you do, and content-wise, I think you bring such a breath of fresh air to what is traditionally a very buttoned-up sport in baseball. Tell me how the Tiny Mike series got started when you were doing those, and how the Phillies players and coaches took to it, and just their openness to wanting to do something that I think is a little more off the beaten path from the traditional mediascape.
Yeah, so I really loved doing the Tiny Mics and stuff. I got to do a couple of them at All-Star, on the All-Star red carpet, which was really cool as well. But back in 2024 is when I started doing them. I was hired by Phillies Nation, which was Tim Kelly at the time, and then Destiny Legardo. They brought me on to spruce up their social media. And I had noticed that a lot of other baseball teams and like even just professional sports teams, I look at the Los Angeles Chargers as like the best social media team in this business, like bar none. In the top 4 professional leagues, they are the best. And I looked at what they were doing, and they have so much like player focused content. And at that point, the Phillies weren't doing much of that. And I was kind of like confused by that, because I'm like, you have all of these personalities here, and you're not really like showcasing them. So when Phillies Nation hired me, I suggested that. I like pitched that to them, and I was like, I think this would really, help with your reach, and I think it would be really good for the players. I think it would benefit everyone involved. They were like, sure. So March 2024, I went down to Clearwater for a little bit and I did the first ones. And it actually went over really well with the players. They were surprised to see the teeny tiny microphone. It's funny when someone sees it for the first time and they're like, what is this? Yeah, it's been the same one I've been using since 2024 too. So like that thing's been with me like through thick and thin.
Amazing.
But yeah, I think the first round I did Brandon Marsh, Garrett Stubbs, Jeff Hoffman, Matt Strom, Shane Victorino, actually, who was there. I got
That's
him.
awesome.
And then I did Nick Castellanos, which for a first time out, I was like scared because it was my first time being media, especially around like this team, which obviously I'd followed for like a long time. So I was a little like, should I go up to him? Should I not? And Tim was like, yeah, go up to him. He's he's like, he's nicer to like girls, like, like the reporters and stuff. And clearly I was going into, no, I was in my junior year of college. So I was like clearly just a college kid, like, hey, can you answer some questions for me? So like they were all very nice to me and I got great content out of that. The top one from that round of them was I asked if they like Barbie or Oppenheimer better, which was like the question at the time. And Nick Castellanos told me Oppenheimer's the best movie that's ever been made. There's no debate. I'm like, that checks out. That really checks out. And from that, I learned that Garrett Stubbs and his then girlfriend went to go see, or wife, Evan, his wife now. Yeah, now wife. They went to go see the Barbie movie with Reese and Jamie Hoskins.
Amazing.
So that's some information that no one knew that we got out of that. So it is real important journalism. Yes. And then I did them a bunch through the rest of the 2024 season. The biggest one was the Roman Empire question.
Yes. That was the one I think that like got you on my radar. And I was like,
yeah,
this is fun.
That one was crazy. Because again, I got Castellanos for that round, which was, I knew I was going to ask that question. And I really wanted to hear from him on that. Because he is so entertaining sometimes. Yes. Like, and I asked him, have you ever thought about the Roman Empire? And he goes, in what regards? And I was like,
this is the most Nick answer ever. Because
yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, in general, has it ever crossed your mind? And he goes, sometimes, because it took like 2,000 years for it to fall or whatever. The United States might fall much faster than that. I was like, perfect. It's like, oh my God.
It's so funny because like when it comes to Nick Castellanos too, and I understand it ended poorly, but like when he signed here, I remember in 2021 when he was with the Reds and the Phillies had been eliminated from the playoffs, and my brother-in-law was my co-host of the show at the time, and we were like, all right, what team are we going to get behind? And we were like talking about like how, there's faces of like NBA Twitter or, NFL Twitter. It's like there's no real MLB Twitter, but that was when, Castellanos had the drive deep to left. And we were like, man, we'd love to have a Castellanos on our team. We put a clip out and his mom interacted with it and like got us on Nick's radar in a sense. And then like Jess started following us. Ryan,
wait, that's cool.
Started following us, and like they all listened to the show like religiously. Like anytime like we put something out, like one or all of them would like interact with it and stuff like that. So I'm like, I have a soft spot for the Castellanos family because they supported us, but like it's so funny like just seeing stuff that Nick does, and I'm like, that's just Nick. Like his mom
he is who he is.
He has a flip phone. Like he doesn't have a smartphone. He still uses a flip phone to this day. Jess is his social media manager, like, and posts everything for him because she has the smartphone. And I'm like, that's Nick Castellanos to a T.
Yeah, she was very supportive of the Tiny Mike. She followed me on Twitter. She would retweet anything that I put out that he was in. I really like Jess. I think she was great to me when he was here, especially as someone who was like, on my kind of like first trip out in the media. Like I was like, okay, this is crazy because this is like my childhood team, and I'm just trying to make it as like a professional, and to have like a family of a player who was like heavily featuring, to have them like support to that level, that was really encouraging to me. And I mean, it's a scary space because yeah, like you said, it is very buttoned up, but that's kind of what I consider like my niche to be in sports media. Is I really like, I think I literally have this on my resume. I'm like, I have an interest in exploring the person behind the player. Like, so that's what I really enjoy doing. Is I can talk ball all day. I can talk stats and this and that, but I really enjoy finding those stories that like show who the player themselves are.
And I think that's why I connect with you so well, because I try to do the same thing. Like whenever we have
Mm.
guests on the show or I'm covering, any sport, I'm like, I may not know all of the intricacies of, ex-WOBA or, stuff like that.
Oh
But
yeah,
like,
I don't even.
I want to know like what your pregame routine is. Like, what do you do to make sure that you are yourself on the field? I love that kind of stuff. And I think the way you capture it is just such a awesome and unique way about just like it, and like we said, like in such a buttoned up sport and kind of just trying to break through years and decades long of just like the suit and tie journalism. And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
you can be a journalist, but you can also have fun. And I think that's where a lot of people need to like remember that. And it's like so many people have just recognized like, oh, people are in suits and ties or formal wear talking about sports on TV. It's like, really, they want to hear like from people wearing a t-shirt and a hat and just being able to have conversations with people, because I think more people are more so intrigued with stuff like you do with the tiny mics and like hearing stories that are not necessarily on the sports field, rather than hearing them talk about X's and O's and talk about stats and plate approach and stuff like that. And it's like that stuff gets boring. The stories are what people are really like tuning in for, and I think you do such a great job with that. Who's the one player that whenever a tiny mic opportunity came up, you want them through and through? Who was kind of the most
Brandon Marsh.
receptive?
It was Brandon Marsh. It's always been Brandon Marsh. He's awesome. He's so nice. Like at a certain point, he started like recognizing me because I would, I mean, he recognized me on the All-Star red carpet. I haven't done the tiny mics in like 2 years, and I was there, and like, the PR like pointed him over to me, and I'm like, "Hey man, what's up?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good. How are you?" So
That's
he's like the
awesome.
sweetest, like Southern gentleman type guy. And the thing is, like, when you do those kinds of stories that aren't about like, and even not even just the tiny mics, but like the stories I would do last year too, the players like them.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, everyone's always asking them about the X's and O's and your swing angle and this and that, and that's not necessarily what they're paying attention to. I think a lot of times like the media puts more impetus on that kind of stuff than the players themselves do. But when you go up to them and you ask them, "Hey, I noticed you have this cool handshake with the player. How did that start?" They're like, oh, okay. And then they start talking. Just, I think it opens them up a little bit because it's not what they're expecting, and they get to talk about like themselves and something they actively do and like actively enjoy doing. And it makes it easier to have kind of just like a conversation with them as people, rather than like, I'm going to interrogate you about your recent job performance.
Yeah.
And those kind of stories are still important, and that's why people are still doing them. But I also think it's important to shine light on like that kind of stuff as well.
100%. I think the players get tired of talking about X's and O's because that's their
Yeah.
job. Like, even if you worked in like a grocery store, you don't want to have conversations with people about, produce and everything, because you're dealing with it every day. And it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, I finally get to just like talk about something fun that I do with one of the guys in the clubhouse.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's players like back to Brandon Marsh. I asked in September last year about their fantasy football league, because they've talked about it a bunch, and they do that like golf competition to see who gets the first pick. And I was asking Marsh all about it, and he's like, "Oh, I got the second pick." And I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "No, I don't mean to be surprised. I'm sorry." He's like, "No, I'm just surprised as I'm just as surprised as you are." And I was asking him, I'm like, "Okay, so like, who's your second pick going to be?" Because Schwarber got the first, and it was pretty well known he's going to take Jamar Chase because he's from Ohio. And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want other people to hear." And then he like literally leaned down and like whispered in my ear. He's like, "It's going to be Bijan." And I was like, "Okay," because he's from Atlanta. Right. He's from Georgia. So it's like, I'm like, good pick. Good
That's
pick.
Awesome. That's so cool.
It's like that kind of stuff. It's like, I also think as a reporter, it helps you build like a better relationship, because when they see you coming, they don't have to be like, "Okay, what are they going to throw at me?"
Right.
It's kind of, I try to take the more fun angle with that kind of stuff, because I think it's helpful for everyone involved, because it's fun. 100%. And that's what fans want to see. They want to know who they're cheering for.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's a kid's game. Like,
yeah,
it's a kid's game. It's supposed to
It's a ball and a stick. Like,
exactly. Yeah. You've also been known to pick up a camera and capture some pretty awesome shots at games and at events. what got you into the photography aspect of things, and what has been your most fun thing to shoot at a Phillies game?
Yeah, so I've always been kind of like more on the artistic side, like creative. That's kind of my niche. Like I've done a lot of like art and like theater and stuff like that my entire life. So I kind of have an eye for that kind of thing. When I went down to the Phillies, to Clearwater in 2024 with Phillies Nation, like that was my first time doing the tiny mics, but also Tim was like, "Hey, we need more photos for the website. Like we have this 5-year-old camera. Like, can you just like take some pictures?" I was like, yeah, sure. So I took some pictures and apparently they were like better than they thought that they would be. Um, and my dad has like a good quality camera, like a professional quality camera that he uses to like it's his hobby. Like he'll take pictures at my little sister plays field hockey. He'll like take pictures of them at like their games and like send them out to everyone. Um, so when the regular season started and like I got back home from college, I asked my dad, I'm like, hey, what if I used your camera at the games? And he was like, yeah, go for it. And so I asked them and they said, go for it. So it just started from there. And like I've started developing the pictures, which like I never really did much of that first year. So I feel like I've gotten a lot better at it. And my favorite game I took pictures at was I was at Kyle Schwarber's 4-home run game last year. I was taking pictures for that. That was insane. And I think what made it even cooler was that there were a ton of people that I knew at that game. I don't know why. Everyone just decided to go to that random game in August. Maybe it was because it was the Powder Blues. I don't know. But I have a picture that I took from like the third base camera well. So it's like right next to the dugout of Schwarber crossing the plate after his 4th home run. He's high-fiving Harrison Bader, but I focused it on the crowd instead. And you can actually see in that picture my uncle going.
That's amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing.
And I sent it to him. I'm like, I got you in like the best moment of the entire Phillies season. Like, there you are. You're right there.
And I mean, there's a non-zero chance that you're in some B-roll or in the background of some shot on Abbott Elementary. Because
I am. I went back and I looked.
Awesome.
I'm in it. Yeah.
Get her the IMDb page now.
Seriously, give me the credit. Give me the credit. I was walking from the camera well in the background of Abbott Elementary.
That's so awesome. That's incredible.
That was a crazy game. Yeah, that was awesome.
So you say you've done theater. What's your favorite musical? I have to know because I'm a theater savant myself.
That's like asking me to pick a child. The answer I normally give is falsettos.
Okay.
I really like falsettos. That's like the revival of that in 2017 was like my favorite show for like 2 years. I also really like In the Heights. Yes.
Did we just become best friends, Grace?
Yeah, absolutely we did. Absolutely.
I love In the Heights.
Yeah, those were my favorites in high school. I loved both of those. And more recently, I'm also getting back into Chicago. I know that's like a semi-basic pick, but like that's a really good soundtrack. So yeah, I really like Chicago a lot, but falsettos is like that's like probably my favorite musical.
In the Heights is my one.
In the Heights is so good.
So
I
good.
put that right up there with Hamilton. I really do. I think those are on the same par, if not like. I would honestly argue cultural impact In the Heights would maybe be a little bit above
100%
Hamilton.
100%.
Yeah.
I always tell people because I saw it 2 years ago at this point. If you get a chance, the Michael Jackson musical is
MJ.
unbelievable.
Really? Okay.
I was blown away. I work with a local high school with their theater department. I photograph all their shows, and they bring the arts department to New York for a show for like a field trip, and I got to tag along. And we saw MJ, and we saw the understudy. Grace, I tell you, if I would have closed my eyes and not known, I would have thought Michael Jackson was like
really
and like on stage
that's
the way that
awesome.
His voice sounded, not just like singing wise, just like spoken word wise. I was like, that's Michael Jackson like reincarnated on stage.
That's crazy.
Which brings me to my next point. If you had to pick a Phillies player to appear in a Broadway musical, who would it be and why?
Oh, it's Kyle Schwarber.
Oh,
he was already in show choir in high school.
Yeah,
I did a whole story on that. He was, which is crazy. I was just talking about this yesterday. Have you watched Glee then? If you're a theater guy, okay. Consider this: Finn Hudson is a star football player in Ohio around 2009 to 2011. He's a star football player who then joins the show choir with a bunch of the other football players and really likes it. Is it Finn Hudson or is it Kyle Schwarber? Because Kyle Schwarber graduated from high school in Ohio in 2011 and did all of those things. It was an all-state linebacker and was in the show choir. Like, I was just thinking about that. I'm like, there's so many parallels there. It's insane. So I would put him there. I would put him on Broadway.
My brain has just been awakened. I'll make the theater pun. My brain has been spring awakened right there.
There we go. My college did that the year after I graduated. I was so mad at them.
That would be incredible. Kyle Schwarber put Kyle Schwarber in Bring It On.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you could put Kyle Schwarber in Chicago and have him stunt cast for Mr. Sullivan or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know. But yeah, I would pick him. Alternatively, if he were into it, I would do Harper just for the showmanship of it all. I think he would eat that up.
Yes. Fun dark horse pick, Joan Duran, because of the entrance.
Really? I could see it.
He knows how to make an entrance on stage.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be fun. Mm-hmm. We're going to conjure up the Phillies musical, and we're going to pitch that to
I'm so down
to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
That's gotta happen. Grace, you're the absolute best. This will not be the last time you're on the show. Let everybody know where they can follow you. Keep up to date with everything you've got going on, and just keep being incredible. I know you're gonna, find your next stop sooner rather than later, and it's gonna be amazing because you do great work covering the Phils and just sports in general. But absolutely would love to have you back on whenever, because you're incredible.
Thank you, Kyle. This has been so fun. I would love to come back on whenever. The Twitter is at Grace Del Pizzo, if you would like to follow along with that. I've been, past couple days, actually, I've been doing some freelancing for AP at the Phillies games. But after that, I'm just trying to find a more permanent thing. So we'll see what comes up. But yeah, on Twitter, it's at Grace Del Pizzo. On Instagram, it's at G Del Pizzo Sports. And I don't know, you can connect with me on LinkedIn if you want. That's just my name.
Yeah. Hashtag hire Grace.
Please.
But Grace, you'll definitely be back on the show because this was a blast. And just to let everybody know, as we're recording bottom of the fifth inning, the Twins are leading the Braves 2-1.
Excellent.
Let's go Twins. Let's go Cody Clemens.
Mm-hmm.
Grace, you're the best. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks for having me.
Big shout out to Grace for hopping on the show. Won't be the last time she's on because we just had an absolute blast talking ball, talking Phils, and kind of getting the history and the story behind the Tiny Mike series that she started when she was with Phillies Nation, and pretty cool to see that the Tiny Mike still exists. The OG one is still cooking and ready to go, and if you are a company out there that is looking for one of the hardest workers in baseball media and sports media in general, hashtag hire Grace down in the comment section below because she's an absolute rock star, and was a blast talking Phils with somebody here on the show. And our conversation with Grace Del Pizzo also brought to you by our friends over at 47. Guys, 47 is an apparel and lifestyle brand made by sports fans for sports fans. I'm rocking the Philly shirt and hat from 47 right now. I love the hitch style hat, whether it's the rope hitch, the diamond cut hitch, the trucker style hitch. It's my go-to headwear of choice. I'm always rocking it, whether I'm down at the ballpark, recording the podcast, hanging out at home. I've always got 47 on my dome. And they just dropped an app. Having 47 in the palm of your hands with app-exclusive merchandise for your favorite sports teams is a cheat code to make sure you are styling and profiling all year long, representing your favorite sports teams, whether it's the Phils, the Eagles, the Sixers, the Flyers, the Union, your favorite college teams, your favorite NASCAR driver. 47's got a style and a brand and a team for you to represent in the best way possible. Use our link in the description. Shop with 47. Make sure you fill up your cart to the gills. Gear up for all seasons with your favorite teams. And make sure you join the 47 family. That is their rewards program, which makes you earn points for every purchase you make. And you level up in their system, which unlocks brand new perks with their all-new revamped reward system. Plus, you get free shipping. If it's free, it's for me, and it should be for you as well. Use the link in the description. Shop with our friends at 47. Gear up for this Phil's postseason run. Gear up for the Eagles. Gear up for the Union postseason run. The Flyers and the Sixers are right around the corner as well, plus college football on the horizon. Represent your favorite sports teams in the best way possible, and that's with 47. Use that link in the description to shop with them and get free shipping on all orders when you join the 47 family. And we thank 47 for being a proud partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia and the official headwear partner of Underground Industries. We've got an incredible, and I mean an incredible conversation with Matt Collison coming up later on in the show. But I do want to talk to you guys about the Philadelphia Union and our Union banter here, brought to you by our awesome pals over at Bino. Guys, Bino is the next big tabletop game for your man caves, your tailgates, your parties, your she sheds, whatever it may be. You break out the Bino board, you're going to be the talk of your event. It's paper football meets foosball for the next big tabletop flicking experience. You guys can get your officially licensed MLS boards, officially licensed Premier League boards. You can customize boards. You can get the Bino Classic, the Bino Classic Green Turf, and so much more. Plus, there's apparel and accessories to make sure your boards look absolutely unique and stand out at your events, or whether you're just flicking at home with the homies. Use our link in the description. That way Bino knows you're coming from us. Fill up your cart to the gills. Get everything you need here, especially for this Union playoff run. And when you go to checkout, get 10% off your entire order from our friends at Bino when you use code BinoBennett62 at checkout. That's code BINHO BENNETT 62 at checkout, and you'll get 10% off your entire order from our friends at Bino. Easiest way to save a little cash on one of the coolest games going in the tailgate scene, in the party scene. Bino is it. So again, use the link in the description. Fill up your cart to the gills. Get 10% off. Code BinoBennett62 at checkout. And we thank Bino for being a proud partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Union split points down at Subaru Park against Messi and Friends here on Wednesday night in a 2-2 final score that saw a lot of craziness towards the end of that game, which we'll get into. But first non-win in MLS play for Ryan Richter, but nonetheless, a very quality game. You love to see the way this team performed. They fought. They didn't just bend the knee because it was, Inter Miami. They didn't just bend the knee because it's Lionel Messi. This team showed up, and I think they showed out in a big way with that 2-2 result. You had goals from Indiana Vassilev, and Neil Pierre gets the equalizer in the 58th minute. Daniel Pinter and Lionel Messi score. Red cards get issued to Kevin Sullivan and Yannick Bright. And Bright tries to run down Kevin Sullivan in the tunnel after the game like an absolute coward. I loved every bit of this. And our guy Jose Roberto Nunez on Twitter posted the clip of it and said, "Got to protect your own brother." Kevin Sullivan and Yannick Bright were given red cards. Not mad about any of this. No need for Ian Frey to step on Quinn. It all stemmed from Ian Frey stepping on Quinn Sullivan, and Kevin goes and defends his older brother. And I love that about this team is they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure they protect their guys and they make sure that everyone is taken care of. Kevin's an absolute demon, as we all know, and he's not going to back down from a fight. He's got that Delco dog in him, and this is a huge instance if Kevin's unavailable for the Union's game this weekend in Austin, but to get a point against Miami at home in front of an awesome rabid crowd and wearing the new kits, which they look great on the guys as well. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about them, but they're starting to grow on me a lot, and I just think this team is they're finding a way. This team has some fun magic in them right now as they now hit the 20-point mark for the season. And just remembering where they were going into the World Cup break is crazy to see where they're at now at the 20-point mark, just behind Columbus. They're 1 point behind Orlando City and Toronto. They're 4 points back of a playoff spot. And shout out to my guy Ray Dunn again, doing this new show with the Philadelphia Union, talking about they are a playoff team. And we've been saying it on this show since Ryan Richter came into the fold, and we started to see a little bit of a change with this club. the Union are going to make the playoffs in this Eastern Conference. Like, it is so logjam of below average to mediocre teams at the bottom of the standings right now. It is very, very doable, and I talked about it on the last episode. I said I'd be thrilled with splitting and getting a point here against Miami. Now you got to go down to Austin and get 3 points against a very, very bad Austin FC team. You've got to go to North Jersey next Saturday and get points, all 3 of them at that, against the New York Red Bulls, a team that you have absolutely owned over the past couple of seasons. And then on September 5th, you've got to go and get 3 points at home against Montreal. Those are all 3 of those games are before Labor Day. If the Union are able to secure 9 points over their next 3 matches and get a total of 10 in this quadrant of games that we've talked about, that's huge. 9 points here for them puts them at 29, which if, without changing anything else in the standings, 29 points would put them around 5th or 6th place in the Eastern Conference. This team is, they have a new lease on life this season. It's fascinating to watch. I can't remember a team going on a run like this. Maybe, not exactly a direct correlation, but it's kind of like that 07 Phillies team where they ran down the Mets and won the NL East and got to the playoffs. I'm not saying that's what the Union are going to do and hunting down Nashville to get the number 1 seed, but they're going to hunt down the Columbus, the Toronto, the Orlando Cities, the DC Uniteds, the New York Red Bulls, NYCFC, Charlotte, Cincinnati, New England, and Chicago are in their sights as well. It's 13 points. It's a big chunk of points to really make up, and obviously those teams are going to earn points along the way as well, but I could see the Union winding up in that 4-5 seed realm if they continue these winning ways under Ryan Richter. It is a fascinating, just, split ends of the coin of what this season could really be, and there's still so much time that they can make up along the way here. And right now, as I'm recording this, Orlando City's tied 1-1 in their match. The New York Red Bulls are 0-0. Chicago is playing Orlando City, I'm pretty sure. So that's just 1 point, between those two teams, and that's huge for the Union if that's able to occur. And, that just, kind of neutralizes Chicago a little bit as you're trying to hunt down to get towards the top of that Eastern Conference. But right now, I'm just so impressed with the way that Ryan Richter has this team playing. And like I said, these next 3 games, if they're able to secure 9 points or at least 7, if you somehow draw with one of these teams, which you should not draw with any of these teams, quite frankly, you should be able to win outright the next 3 matches. And then you see what, Cincinnati brings you on the horizon. And I think it's huge that you're at home for that game. Then you go out west to play San Diego and Sporting Kansas City. I think San Diego's the real, big test for this team. You look where they're at in the standings. They're in the same realm as the Union, 24 points. I'm not saying they're good, but it's, you got to go out to San Diego. You got to play a team that's kind of in that same echelon of yours in the standings right now. And then you got to play Sporting Kansas City, who are bad, and you just can't overlook them, and you just got to take it to teams like that. You got to take it to teams like Orlando City at the end of September. You got to take it to a team like, Real Salt Lake, where, they're an 8 seed in the West right now. That's a team that you got to be able to beat, especially when you're at home. You get a chance to play Chicago out in Chicago on October 14th. There's so many games against Eastern Conference opponents down the stretch here for the Union and teams that are really, really bad in the West that they still have to play, whether it's Austin, whether it's Sporting Kansas City, San Diego. There's a real shot this team finds themselves in the middle of the pack of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, and it's not going to surprise me one bit. The way this team is playing, the way this team is fighting for each other, in a literal sense tonight after, the match with Miami, but I'm super impressed by the way Ryan Richter has truly just begun to rewrite the story of this season for the Philadelphia Union, and I think they're on track to really, make some noise in the Eastern Conference, make some noise in the MLS overall, and find themselves in the playoffs, and giving us another team to battle on with in the playoffs come November, December. and it's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said on the last episode, MLS is better when the Philadelphia Union are a good team, and they continue to prove points like that, especially after a game like tonight against Miami down at Subaru Park. Speaking of Subaru Park, the Philadelphia Waterdogs, like we mentioned, they swept their homecoming weekend at the Sub this past weekend over the New York Atlas and the Maryland Whipsnakes to lock up the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, as they now have a league-wide bye. They get the bye from the quarterfinals, and they move right on to the semifinals as they await their opponent, whether it be the aforementioned Maryland Whipsnakes or the Boston Cannons on Labor Day out in Utah. And it's a Waterdogs Weekly edition of the podcast, which means we've got a new member of the Waterdogs joining us here for Weekly Media, and that is rookie midfielder Matt Collison, the pride of Johns Hopkins University, joined me this week for an awesome conversation. Like I said at the top of the show, first time I've ever gotten a chance to talk to Matt Collison, and he was an absolute joy, absolute blast, and he even said it. This won't be the last time that he's on this show or on our airwaves, because we just had an absolute blast chopping it up, talking ball, talking about this team, talking about the mindset of the team going into the playoffs, and just where he's at right now through the first 8 games of his rookie season. But Waterdogs Weekly is brought to you by our awesome PLL app code. And guys, the PLL app is your one-stop shop to keep up to date with the PLL playoffs. There's so much that's going to be going on during the playoffs, from the quarterfinals to the semifinals, and then inevitably that championship game on September 20th up in North Jersey at Sports Illustrated Stadium. It's a gamified app. There's articles from the beat writers. There's the Call Your Shot feature, which is taking over for PLL Fantasy that typically happens throughout the regular season. There's trivia to answer every single day. There's tasks to complete. You earn experience points for doing it all. And when you level up in the app, it unlocks perks like PLL shop discounts, ESPN Plus subscriptions for free, and discounted ticket prices. Get your playoff tickets discounted here by using the PLL app and leveling up in the app and using our code, which if you go to download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store, go to the redeem code section, type in OTBPOD, that's OTB Pod, and you get 500 XP on your account. It levels you up from level 1 to level 2, just like that. So level up in the PLL app. Keep up to date with everything going on with the Philadelphia Waterdogs this postseason. All of it available in the PLL app, and in the redeem code section, type in OTBPOD, OTB Pod, and get 500 XP on your account in the PLL app. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's kick it to Waterdogs Weekly here on the league-wide bye heading into the postseason with the one, the only Philadelphia Waterdogs rookie midfielder, Matt Collison, joins me here on Underground Sports Philadelphia for Waterdogs Weekly. All right, everybody, we now welcome on a very special guest for Waterdogs Weekly here on Underground Sports Philadelphia following a homecoming sweep at Subaru Park. We're joined by yet another one of the Philadelphia Waterdogs rookie class members, and that is second-round draft pick from the Johns Hopkins University, Matt Collison, right here on Waterdogs Weekly on Underground Sports Philadelphia. Matt, a pleasure to have you. Finally, great to meet you, my man. And congratulations on the sweep. Congratulations on the top seed in the East, and getting a couple weeks to reset, refresh, and get ready for the semifinals.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you as well. Pleasure to be on the pod. And yeah, it's been like we were just talking about a little bit briefly off camera. It's been a great start to the summer. So it's I'm excited to be here.
I think the first thing I got to ask you is, obviously coming into the pros, having the 2-point line, and you have been one of the most comfortable shooters from beyond the arc. What makes you so comfortable ripping from 2?
Yeah, that 2-point line is obviously very valuable. Kind of coming in, I wasn't necessarily sure what kind of my strengths, weaknesses would be in the pros. Obviously, everyone's just so much bigger, faster, stronger, better, smarter. At everything to do with the game. So it was kind of a daunting transition for me at the beginning. But then my teammates, the coaching staff, just gave me so much confidence in my abilities that every time I kind of had it from around there, and pass it up, they were all looking at me like, why don't you try and shoot it one time? So, I kind of, took that first one and then realized, I can kind of get around over there at that range. So it's it's been good. Again, it comes down to my teammates giving me the confidence and putting their trust in me, and it's a good feeling when you got all those great players behind you and going to bat for you.
I think one thing that's really stood out to me this season for the Waterdogs is just the camaraderie you guys have in that midfield, and I think it's to no shock that a majority of that is the four rookies. It's you, it's Silas, Kyle Lewis, and Josh Yago in that midfield, and kind of coming together as just such a tight knit unit. What do you think has led to you guys just kind of having that instant chemistry as a group? And whether it be, Jack Hanna, who was there for a while with you guys before the injury, whether it be Casey Wilson in game one this past weekend at Subaru Park, you throw in Dox Aiken, who hadn't played since last season, and you guys still didn't skip a beat. What do you think makes that chemistry between the four of you so well that no matter who Coach T and Coach Sheridan throw into that midfield with you guys, you're not going to skip a beat offensively?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously it starts with off the field, building that chemistry, building that, those friendships, those relationships with the guys. Um, so it obviously starts there, and because you want to play hard for people you care about, you want to play hard for those guys that are gonna go to bat for you, and you want in your foxhole. So obviously it starts there, and I think the older guys on the team, the vets have done a great job of kind of fostering that environment where it's safe to do that, and everyone feels welcome and everyone feels open to kind of building those new relationships. And it's no matter who you are, right? Like, we got some of the best players in the entire world. It's as a rookie coming in, it's pretty it's pretty intimidating to kind of walk into a locker room like that with all those dudes. So but it's they do a phenomenal job of kind of taking us under their wing, and just showing us that they're just like every other guy, they're just like us, and we're here to play a game and have fun. So I think it starts with that, and then leading onto the field, like I said, I think we just really enjoy playing with each other. I think we love the time we spend with each other every week, and I think when we get a chance to compete, we go out there and compete for each other, and we want to show each other how much we care. And I think that's pretty evident in our last couple of games, and I think that we're in a pretty good spot going into the playoffs, and when playoff time comes around, it's competing for more time with each other, and I think that's because of the relationships we've built, we're in a good spot to kind of do that and have that urgency. So it's been great.
Obviously Jack Hanna suffers that injury, and he's going to be out potentially for the remainder of the season, depending on, recovery time and, whether or not you guys are able to get to the championship and everything with the extended break in between the semifinal and the championship. But we had Coach Sheridan on a couple weeks ago, and he said the four of you, and you in particular, helped Jack Hanna kind of get back to being Jack Hanna. And he kind of pointed to you guys and said, when they drafted you, it was almost like getting the Monstars from Space Jam on a lacrosse field. What has Jack Hanna done to kind of help you, learn the ropes of the PLL, and you guys kind of working in tandem and being comfortable with each other when you've been out on the field, and what went into kind of just building that relationship off the field as well, like you mentioned, to kind of, foster what we see on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of, alluded to a few guys here, but Jack's been, exactly one of those people who's, kind of taken all of us under his wing and showed us the way and how it is to be a pro, in the big leagues. And, again, he's just one of those guys that gives you so much confidence when you're out there. He's cheering you on. He's celebrating for your goals. He's moving the ball. He's making the right plays. He's coming off the field. He's communicating. He's just doing all the right things. And he really is a pro's pro. He's been in this league for a while. He's been in the indoor league for a while. He's someone I've watched for forever, and now I get to call him one of my teammates, one of my friends. So it's been awesome having Jack. As far as us helping him out, I guess it's nice of Coach Sheridan to say. I think Jack's helped us a lot more than we've helped him. But we're just going out there. We're playing our game. We're keeping it simple. That's something that Hannah always preaches, is just just do the right thing, make the right play, and then it's not going to matter who scores as long as Philly does. So I think he's done a phenomenal job. It's really nice to hear that Coach Sheridan thinks that we're helping him out. But it's at the end of the day, like I said, it's just we're just playing hard. We're doing what we're all good at. We have big, fast, strong, smart, athletic lacrosse players up and down the lineup. So whoever has the ball is going to be a tough matchup to handle, and anyone off the ball is coincidentally also one of the best players in the world. So It's a pretty cool dynamic to play within. So it's it's been awesome. And then, like I said, Jack's been nothing but helpful and receptive of any questions and thoughts we've had as well.
We were talking a little bit pre-show about just the culture and the dynamics of the locker room you guys have on this Waterdogs team, and I think Coach T mentioned it after your first game this past weekend, where not only do you have the guys in the locker room, Connor Kelly comes down from Connecticut, you have Tim Troutner coming up from the Jersey Shore to be with you guys when they don't have to do that, and I think that's a testament on both ends of the spectrum. Like Connor Kelly is the original Waterdog, and then you have Tim Troutner, who was with the team. His wife and he were expecting a baby during training camp, so he never really got a chance to show up. And then when Matt DeLuca goes down with his injury, he's back. And then, he's on vacation at the Jersey Shore, and boom, he's back with you guys in Philly. I think that just speaks to the testament of whoever walks through, this Waterdogs locker room doors. Like, you guys are so close knit. What have you noticed about just what makes you guys that way as your rookie season has progressed? What do you think is a testament to that culture?
Yeah, I mean, guys like hanging out with good dudes, right? Like there's just a lot of great guys in the locker room. Everyone's really fun to be around. There's a lot of different personalities, but everything kind of meshes in a way where everything works. We've got loud guys, we've got quiet guys, we got guys who are super serious on game days. We got guys who are a little bit looser, but it's a group that I'm like who wouldn't want to hang around this group, right? It's one of those things where if you have the opportunity, you want to be in Philly, you want to be around those guys and be around a group of guys who have played at the highest level. We got Torton winners, Torton finalists, first team All-Americans, all that up and down the lineup. But at the end of the day, they're better people than they are lacrosse players. So I could say that for every single guy on the team, and it's no coincidence that we've got guys coming in from out of town who might be told they're already not necessarily going to play before the weekend, and they still want to come and just be around and hang out and be with the guys and be around not only good lacrosse but better people. So it's not a shock at all once you step through the locker room, and it's something that I would do myself as well, even if I wasn't playing.
I think there's such a good blend too of just different levels of championship winners in that locker room, whether it be PLL champions, collegiate champions, NLL champs, world champions. Like, I think there's such a good mix from the coaching staff to you guys on the field. How valuable do you view that, as a rookie in this league and just through the first 8 games of your career to have just so many different walks of life of what it takes to get to that mountaintop as you guys head into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything, right? Like, very candidly, I haven't really won anything. I didn't win, in college. I haven't won a Minto Cup in box. I haven't I haven't been on Team Canada, so I haven't really been through the grind of getting, to the peak, like you were saying. So it's exponentially, it's incredibly valuable to have those guys who have won. How you can kind of look at them and see how they operate later in the season, see how they take care of their bodies. Look at their mental game, see what they're kind of thinking about on a day-to-day basis. How involved are they? Are they taking a step away from the game? Are they fully locking in? And then you can kind of take those different pieces from the different guys you're looking at and see if you can apply them to yourself. See if it works for you. See if you're you get more dialed in, you play better, or if you're kind of stressing out a little bit, gripping the stick too tight. So it's as long as you have champions on your team, you should always look towards them as far as what to do and how to get there, because frankly they've gotten there, right? So I think it's awesome. I think it's huge, and I think it's something that our rookie class can really look to and get. I think we're so lucky to experience that, and that's to be said for every other team as well. There's champions, there's international champions, like you mentioned, on every other team. So I think it's a pretty special thing for rookies to get to experience specifically.
I think it's got to be pretty cool for you too, obviously being Canadian, to have Zach Courier on this roster. When you get drafted by Philly and you know that you're going to be teammates with, just an all-around legend, but also a Canadian legend like Zach Courier. How cool was that for you the first time you got a chance to, chop it up with him and being able to take the field with him every week? How fun and special is it to just watch what he does on a week in and week out basis?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, he's a legend in the game, legend in Canadian lacrosse, but legend off the floor, right? Like he's the best guy. He's someone that I was, again, a little intimidated to meet at the start, like you said, just him being so prominent in in the Canadian, lacrosse world, but he's the most kind, just nice, normal guy. Great family. Um, hardest working guy. I mean, you see it on the field all the time, but he really is like I mentioned before. He's a pro's pro, and it's really been a treat to play with him and get to see how he kind of operates on a game day, on an off day-to-day basis, and kind of pick his brain about some other things as well, but also just get to like hang out with him and talk about stuff that has nothing to do with lacrosse, about just random stuff going on back home, or Canadian politics, or we're talking about like my visa and stuff like that. So it's been nice to hang around Zach. He's been so awesome, and I can't I'm very thankful that he's one of my teammates, and I've gotten to get to know him.
We had CJ Kirst on earlier in the season, and he talked about you guys playing together when you were younger, and playing against each other, and how cool is it that you got a front row seat to watch him break the goals record this year, and to have a guy like that, both on and off the field, the type of person he is, the type of player he is, to kind of just help lead the way alongside Kieran and Michael Sowers as kind of the three faces of this team, and to be able to have such a generational talent kind of at the forefront of this offense with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, CJ obviously is, he is who he is, but he's even better off the field, right? Like all the goals, the records, all that stuff comes, but he's one of the best people that I've ever met, and he's definitely one of my close buddies on the squad, and he's a very loud, prominent figure. He's always getting loud in the locker room. He's always teeing guys up, getting everyone going, getting the energy going. So, his leadership and his impact off the field, as far as has nothing to do with goals, assists, or anything like that, has been undeniable. And then obviously it translates to on the field, him being now the greatest single season goal scorer of all time in the pro league, and obviously everything he's done at Cornell and stuff like that. So it's no surprise that a person like that succeeds the way he does. But it's been, like I said about Kerr, the same thing about CJ, the same thing about probably can say the same about every other guy off the field. Getting to know those guys is really special, and CJ himself has been a treat, and everyone who knows him kind of says the same things, and you kind of see why.
Kind of going in reverse order of homecoming weekend, that second game where you guys had already clinched the number one seed after beating New York, but Coach T kind of mentioned it in the post game of that second game, where it was like, these guys didn't have to play today, they didn't have to try today, but you guys still went out there, you went out and got a win, you grinded against a conference rival. Take me through just your personal mindset and just the thought process in the locker room going into that game, where there truly was nothing on the line for either team. It was kind of just a layup game there, and just continuing to play together for one more game in the regular season. But what was kind of the mindset in the locker room, where there is nothing on the line in this game, but you guys still wanted to go out there, compete, and get that win and get to 9 wins?
Yeah, I mean, I think the locker room is just overall a very selfless locker room. I think that I've talked about the aspects of togetherness of our team, but I think that we really want to just play for each other. There isn't necessarily much of a care as far as like the record or how many goals someone scores or something like that. Like, we really just want to go out there and win for each other. We love competing with each other. We love competing for each other. We love going out there and putting the Philly jersey on and going against another squad. So I think that regardless of time, place, score, situation, circumstance, I think we want to roll the ball out and we want to compete. So I think you saw that this past weekend, obviously having the quote unquote nothing game, but at the end of the day, that nothing game could be a team we see later down the road. So we're gonna play hard no matter what, and we're gonna put our best foot forward always.
How sick was it throwing on the barrage throwbacks?
It was sweet. It was really, really cool. The barrage. I was pretty young when the barrage were around, but I still remember those jerseys pretty well, and it was really awesome. It was cool. The orange is awesome. So it was. I like how different it was from our current colors.
Yeah,
So it was
it
good.
was pretty sweet seeing you guys, practicing everything. You have the orange buckets on, and then you got the purple pennies. I was like, it's giving a little Halloween vibes right now.
Yeah, yeah. We were saying we were looking a little too much like Clemson, but it was good when the orange jerseys came on.
Absolutely. And I mean, in that game, you guys go out there and clinch the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference with that win against New York to, kind of just go out there. And it just felt like pretty much every single time you guys have gone out there and won, it's you guys are having the most fun on the field. Tell me about just that dynamic. And no matter who you're playing, you guys are always out there just having fun, no matter who's scoring, no matter who's, shutting down on defense. It always looks like you guys are having the most fun on the field.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we could talk about how much chemistry we have, how much we enjoy seeing each other succeed. The relationships, um, that all is the major contributor to the fact that we love playing the game, we love having fun out there with each other. But also, I mean, if you look up and down the roster, how many playmakers we have, like someone's going to do something pretty cool every shift, right? So I think it's pretty easy to get fired up for that stuff, but. No, but like the little gritty plays. I mean, every time Zach picks up a GB, every time Gavin Adler shuts someone down, every time Kenny Brower, lays the boom at GLE or something like that, or Sean Byrne or Matty make a big stop. It's one of those things where kind of everyone just gets fired up. It builds, and then it goes down to the O end, and then the D guys are celebrating when we score. Then I see that, and then we're celebrating even louder. Then it's a big whole snowball effect. And I think that we've been snowballing for quite some time now, and I think that we're in a really really good spot leading into the league wide bye, and then our first round bye where we're gonna get together back in Philly and practice and be together, and it'll be awesome. So I think we're in a great spot as far as team camaraderie, chemistry, drive, urgency, and also kind of understanding of the situation and where we're at in the season.
And I know Coach T wasn't too thrilled when the schedule came out that you guys had 2 double headers this year, but you were the only team, and up until this point, the only team in PLL history to sweep 2 double headers in a season. How sick is that to know that you guys can, go out, grind that first game of a doubleheader, know that on the horizon, less than 24 hours, more often than not, especially in Denver, you guys have another game waiting for you, and you guys go and dig and fight, and you find a way to, sweep a doubleheader not once but twice this year.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows you how tough the group is. It shows you, how battle tested we are. It's doubleheader's no joke, especially the one in Denver where the game gets delayed until it was 3 a.m. our time or something or Eastern time, and that's when that game ended or something like that. So it's awesome. I mean, it's another one of those. Just it's a testament to how tough we are. I think that the messaging as well in the locker room is another one of those things that can't really go unnoticed. It's a thing of like, who cares? It's another game in front of us. It doesn't matter the time. Doesn't matter, like I said, the place, the circumstance. It's that ball's getting rolled out there, and we're gonna go out there and we're gonna compete for it. And we're gonna try and dominate. So I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool that we're the only team to do that. But I think it's I wouldn't say I'm not surprised, but I would say that no one has been not fired up for a game, let alone a back to back. So it's been awesome.
What's it been like getting to, get to know Coach T a little bit more on a personal level and get to play for such a legend of the game, and just watching how he kind of operates a team at this level, and just seeing the way that, this ship is run by Bill Tierney?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's the coach, the legendary coach. It's like I said about a couple of guys. It's no wonder he's found the success that he has. On the field, he's fierce. He's a competitor. He brings that out of us. He demands excellence. He's at the same time he commands respect, and it's one of those things where we're looking at him for guidance, and he always has the answer. He always has the right thing to say to us in the huddle. He knows when to push us, when to kind of lean back and say, all right, next play. But he's amazing, and he's been one of the best coaches I've ever had, and it's been a pleasure to get to play for him. But and on the flip side, off the field, he's like I said about a lot of these guys in Philly fashion, he's even better off the field. He's one of those guys you can kind of lean on and talk to about anything, lacrosse aside. Just talk to him as a human being, and he'll be there for you. And like I said, he'll often have the right answers, but it's been a pleasure getting to know Coach T, a pleasure to play for him, and something that I'm very very grateful and I'm not taking for granted.
For you as a rookie as well, I've asked all the offensive guys too, since this is his first year on the coaching staff. But for you as a rookie in particular, to come in and some obvious changes from the collegiate game to the pro game, the speed and the pace, to have somebody who is regarded as the most accurate shooter of all time by so many, who is fresh off of playing in the PLL, to have Eric Law just a phone call away to just talk shop and talk about decision making and shot placement, and him being the guy breaking down film for you guys this year. How awesome of a tool is that? And to just be able to have somebody that so many people regard as one of the greatest shooters to ever do it at your disposal to help you progress as a rookie and further on in your career, as long as he's on the staff. How awesome is that for you?
Yeah, he's been awesome. I mean, anytime you get a mind like that, you get to pick his brain. It's a pretty special thing because they often always say something you just weren't thinking about. Or they're saying something that you were exactly thinking about and just thought it was too simple, too good to be true, and that is the answer, right? So it's one of those things where he's always available for questions. He's, as everyone knows, he's the consummate leader. He's an amazing guy, but an unbelievable player, and he's someone that I talked a lot with when we were in Denver, because he got to be there on the bench. Obviously just not over the phone, but he's unreal, and someone that I obviously watched a ton of growing up, but it's really cool to meet a guy like that in person, and to, like you said, kind of get to talk to him, get to pick his brain really about anything. So
how nice is it that, obviously on game day, you've got guys like Gavin Adler and Kenny Brower, Jimmy Freehill, Brendan Staub, Marcus Hudgens. You only have to worry about them in practice. But to know that, in a game, you've got some of the fiercest, all pun intended here, dogs ready to go to war, on that defense for you guys. How awesome is it to, just get that 1% better every chance you guys get to practice against a defense like that, and then seeing what they do on game day as such a young core as well. How awesome, is this defense?
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, we see it out there, and you know, opposing offenses have a tough enough time getting around them, and then as soon as even if they do get a shot, they've got two of the best goalies in the league staring them down. So it's been really really cool to see that defense operate. Like you said, I mean, like we've got Gav, Kenny, Marcus down there. Stauber too. I remember playing against Stauber against Cornell, and after the first play, I started talking to our guys. I was like, all right, bring picks to the ball, get this guy off me. So it's something really awesome. And then I mean we've got Charlie, we've got Casey, we've got Witch, Staff in the middle of the field. Yeah, Zach when he goes back there. I mean, it's awesome. And then it's again, like I said, it's very typical to our team. They play a very selfless brand of ball down there. They're very willing to rotate, willing to communicate. They talk through everything. They talk through everything after. The huddles are all very constructive, and it's definitely relaxing when if you're going through a little spell on offense and you get to the bench and it's like, all right, it's fine. Like they'll get a stop. So it's been a privilege to be able to play with those guys.
And sometimes, just one of them gets to the bench and has to take on an entire team by himself. When you see Jimmy just going, 1v however many of the New York Atlas this past weekend, what's the initial reaction when something like that breaks out down on the field? And then afterwards, when you kind of, hear the sides of the story and what went down, how fired up does that get everybody, to go out there and compete that much harder?
Yeah, man. Jimmy gets it going. Jimmy gets the juices going. Again, another one of my close buddies on the team. He's been awesome. He's been so, like I said, so welcoming to the young guys, and again, like great teammate, great locker room guys, someone that everyone is excited to see. But he definitely gets it going. He gets the boys going. I can't say I was too surprised to see him in the middle of that mix, but that's not a bad thing at all, right? It's good to get those kind of juices going, and at that point in the game, like we're up, we're winning. He didn't have to do that, and he's still out there competing. He's got a fire going that's tough to compete with. So I'm not surprised that Jimmy was in the mix there, and that's not to say that that's a bad thing. It's him. He's a fierce competitor. He's out there to win, and he's out there to to get people off their game and stay on his. So that sounds like him.
How impressed were you? Obviously in Utah, just some weird circumstances. Matt DeLuca gets injured. You guys have the weather delay. But then after that, everything that Sean Byrne has been able to do, stepping up for you guys in Cage and just playing out of his mind, setting rookie records this past weekend in Philly, tying Matt's record that he set earlier this year for saves in a single game with 20, 39 saves across the weekend for you guys this homecoming. How impressed have you been just by his, demeanor and the way he goes about his job and just stepping up for Matt when he gets injured and has gone on just this insane run for you guys in Cage?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked at all. You look at Sean off the field, very, dialed in, loves the game, loves the position. He is a goalie through and through. He's a phenomenal teammate, understands the defense. He's very, he's very present. He's where his feet are at all times, and um, you know, I think that mindset only leads to success. Although I have seen it before. We did play against Army in college. We had a scrimmage against them, and going into it, obviously he's got all the hype around him. He's goalie of the year, we're coming back, whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, like all right, like he's a goalie, like we'll see. And then like I think he must have had 25 stops in 3 quarters. So it's I'm not surprised. I mean, he's one of the best goalies I've ever seen. He's a big guy. He makes a lot of saves with the stick, throws great outlets. Um, but you're not going to be able to do all that if a defense in front of you doesn't trust you, right? So I think the relationships and rapport he has with the guys in front of him, the chemistry they have too. He gets the shots he wants to see. They take away the shots he doesn't want to see, or shots that he might not be necessarily more comfortable with. Even though I think he's pretty comfortable from any spot, obviously. So I'm not surprised that he's come in and found success, just because I've seen it before. But I think the reasoning behind that means more, and the person he is kind of the biggest reason why he has the success that he does.
What's one thing that you've learned from Coach Sheridan this year, just about playing at the pro level, that's really helped your game evolve over the past 8 games for you, and being able to kind of make the adjustments that you had to make when it comes to playing in the PLL?
I'm Coach. So Coach Sherry and I go way back. Actually, he recruited me to go to WRA for my PG year at a high school. He was so we built a relationship there. He was one of my coaches in the All American game at Homewood, that senior game. So we've known each other for a while. And then when I found out he was the OC, it was awesome. I mean, coming back to Coach Sherry. He's again one of the best dudes. Just so kind. He's so there for you. He's a player's coach. He's very communicative. He's all in. He's very bought in. And similarly, like I said about Burnout, he's very where his feet are. He's present. He's in the moment, and you can feel that. And that's something that you gain comfort from. Probably the biggest thing I've learned from him though is just go out and make it happen. Like, coming in, I was a little timid, a little just like unsure. I mean, like everyone's so good, everyone's a pro. It's one of those things where, my confidence wasn't necessarily at an all-time high, not because I was failing, just because like I was in a different spot, and it was, a lot bigger, faster, stronger. So, early on in that first game, Coach Sherry's like, just let it fly, shoot it. I was like, all right. So, as soon as that started happening, I just started thinking, I was like, man, I'm here for a reason. I'm one of these guys. I'm a good player, and I can come out here and compete. And I think he kind of just instilled that confidence in me of just like dude, just go for it, go take it. Like if you fail, who cares? It's a 30-second shot clock now. They're not going to have it for the full 80. It's a quick turnaround, and then you're back on the field. So I think he's also had my back, when I've made some bad plays, and he's been like, hey man, whatever. And he's throwing me back out there. He's giving me the opportunity. So it's I can't thank him enough for that. But really, just that mindset of just go take it is something that he's definitely instilled.
Has the speed of the PLL been a benefit for you, where, like you said, you're going from that 80-second shot clock to 52, 32, what adjustments, if any, did you have to make kind of in that situation where just the speed of the game has kind of, upped the ante a little bit, or has it been a benefit for you?
Yeah, I think that I think that it's something that I'm pretty comfortable with just because of the box game, like having that 30-second shot clock, having played in that forever. And that's not to say the PLL is like box, but I think that the timing of it is as similar as it ever has been. So I don't, I won't lie. I have, I had a shot clock violation because I forgot the shot clock was so short earlier in the year. But no, I think that, the speed of the game really only plays into pretty much everyone's favor. I mean, everyone's so good, so big, so strong, so fast. So it's just like, I mean, as soon as any kind of transition gets made, any kind of, advantage presents itself, it's taken, it's taken pretty quickly. So, I think the speed of the game only makes it more entertaining, only makes it more fun. You see these guys flying around out here. Obviously, college I think is phenomenal, but it's better to see the biggest best athletes in the world moving at the high speed, and that comes with shorter time. So I think it's awesome.
What was your first reaction when you heard that you were the first Hopkins player since Paul Rabel to be named an All-American as a freshman, a sophomore, and a junior, and to kind of just have your name in the same breath as Paul Rabel in that respect?
Yeah, I mean it's really cool. The individual kind of awards and stuff. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's really cool to be mentioned. In the same name as him. Obviously he did what he did for Hopkins, but is also doing what he's doing for the sport of lacrosse. So I really respect Paul. Him and I have a good relationship. We've spoken a bunch over the years, and it's just one of those things where you kind of got to sit back and be like, wow, like that's pretty cool. So it's also one of those things you don't really know kind of like how to respond when you get asked about it, but it's just it's awesome. I don't really think of myself in kind of like the same breath as kind of those guys, but it's cool to kind of still be there. So it's an interesting feeling, but it's something very humbling, and I'm very grateful for.
I'm curious always with a bunch of the PL rookies, and you're the first of the Waterdogs rookies I've been able to ask this to. Have you had a welcome to the league moment yet where it was just like, holy shit, like I'm in the PLL, like something that has stood out to you that it's like, damn, like this is the pro ranks, we're moving up.
Yeah, actually I have. So my first game against Utah in San Diego, I cut off ball. Like I think Sowers was hung up, and um, when he's back there, you kind of just move around and he'll find you. So I cut off ball and flashed my stick, and Warren Jeffrey was in front of the net and kind of came down and chopped my arm. And I was like, oh, that didn't feel good. And then I looked down and my whole arm was split open. So I had to like go off on the bench and, get it glued shut and stitched up for the game or whatever. But that was that was when I was like, okay, so I should probably pad up a little bit more. But it's that was probably my biggest just, this is a bit different. So
It's Canadian on Canadian crime right there.
I know it was tough. It was a tough one too when my arm went numb. So I wasn't too happy.
What's what's been the favorite spot so far that you've been able to go to on the schedule in the games you've played, and what's been the favorite city?
I mean, Philly's the easy answer. They were so awesome this past weekend with the doubleheader. They showed out, even in the rain. It was something special having that crowd there, and coming down to the wire. It was pouring rain. Maryland was on a power play. They were down by two, looking to bring it down by one, and the defense chant coming from the stands. I honestly looked over at Yago. I told him I was like, this can't be fun to play with behind you. So it was Philly was so awesome, being close to where all the guys are from, having all the families there, having that insane crowd, people there from all walks of life. So it was really really cool. But aside from that, I mean, Chicago was unreal. Chicago was a great time, great crowd, great city as well. That was really like my first time kind of being around the city, so it was really awesome. But I mean, nothing compares to Philly. So.
What was it like? It was such a unique situation for you guys too, where it is, the regular season finale, and you finally get to have, those home games, and you guys accomplish so much to be able to, clinch that number one seed in front of the home fans, to see CJ break that single season goals record in front of the home fans. Sowers gets to his first 50-point season in front of, his hometown fans, in his backyard. How special of a weekend truly was it to be able to accomplish so much in front of the home fans and kind of get that, in essence, like a send off to the playoffs in front of all the Philly faithful.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good weekend to be us. I mean, obviously, like you said, we clinched. We had all those guys kind of, getting their individual accolades. Docs had his first as a water dog. It was really really cool. I think that, like I said before, we're in a really really good spot, kind of going into the playoffs, going into the bye week, having to be able to watch those games out in Philly together, practice together. I think that it was the perfect send off, like you were saying, to the playoffs. So I think we've got the fans to thank for showing up and giving us the support that I think we needed to kind of get us through those two games, those two tough games. The hot and then the heat and then the rain. So it was really awesome. It was great.
How cool was it suiting up with Docs and just the whole dynamic around him coming back, and not playing since last year and only played in 2 games last year, hadn't scored a goal since 2024. And oddly enough, it was against the Whip Snakes, and he gets his first, like you said, against the Whip Snakes there. But how cool was it to, be suited up with him and to see him back out on a lacrosse field and what he does, just with his physical stature and his speed and ability to cut and everything that, he brings to the midfield.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously the athlete that he is. I'd never got to see him play in person before, but then in practice Friday night, we were watching him dodge. I was like, oh, this guy is fast. He's big, strong, fast athlete. Loves the game, but again, I'll just go into his character. Just a great guy, someone who you want to see succeed. So it's pretty easy to celebrate when he does have success. And it was really awesome to suit up next to him. Getting to see what he does, getting to see how he goes about it. He takes wings. He'll go back on defense. He'll play offense. He'll hit deep shots like he did. So it's another one of those things that bringing a guy like that in. They've done such a good job with meshing the guys with the culture and bringing everyone together. So it's again, it's another special thing that it seems to keep happening to this team.
And I think, a huge part of this culture is there's still such a good collection of guys from the Waterdogs team that won the championship in 2022, whether it be Matt DeLuca, being the lone draft pick that is still left from that original Waterdogs team, to Kieran McCardle being your guys' captain, to Zach Currier. Like, there's so many guys from that roster still. How awesome, is that group to be around, to know that they know what it takes to win a PLL championship, and then to have a captain and a leader like Kieran McCardle, at your disposal, and just seeing what he's been able to do for such a long time, in the professional ranks, and kind of having that underdog chip on his shoulder. Nobody believed him. He goes to St. John's, and just kind of silently has climbed up the ranks of, the all-time greats. But what's it like having a leader like Kieran McCardle in that locker room to kind of, get everything going for you guys?
Yeah, I mean that group as a whole, those kind of like quote unquote older guys, like that 2022 championship team guys. Um, they're like, I can't say enough good things about them as far as just like vets bringing us in, bringing the team together, keeping the team together. Keeping the main thing the main thing. But Kieran himself has been awesome. Obviously great dude, great, like, phenomenal family, has a great family. Um, he again, like, he's just one of those guys where he's just a pro's pro. He takes care of himself. You see how why he's been able to play for so long, why his game has changed as his career's gone on, and he's remained still one of the most productive players of all time, right? So, and I think he gets not nearly the amount of recognition and love that he deserves. Being, I think he's 5th all time in goals and top 10 in points. So he's one of those guys where you don't really, like you said, they don't know, no one's really talked about him, and he's silently just been one of the most, one of the best lacrosse players of all time. So it's very awesome to get to see, that, get to see him, continue to succeed. But again, it's the guy he is. He's a locker room guy. Love to be around, love to joke around with him. He's not, too serious all the time, but when it's time to really lock in for the game, you can tell why he's had so much success. So it's a common theme throughout, the locker room up and down. It's just the kind of players they are. It correlates to how good of people they are off the field.
take me back to draft night, and you get drafted in the second round by the Waterdogs. You see in round one the Waterdogs take Silas Richmond, and I talked to Coach T after the draft at ESPN headquarters, and he said we had no idea that we were going to be able to get Silas and Matt Collison. It's like we took Silas, and it's like, all right, we just missed out on a generational player in Matt Collison. Then boom, second round, you're there, you get drafted. What's the initial reaction to just hearing your name called in, the sport you've grown up playing and getting drafted? And then, when it all settles in, you recognize, all right, I'm going to a roster that's absolutely stacked.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. It was a pretty special night. I was with all my best buds at Hopkins. We were, our whole team was watching it in the course cross center. It was pretty cool to get to kind of go through that with those guys. The guys who I had just basically gone to war with the past 4 years. Some of my best friends. It was very special to be able to share that with them. And then, obviously the Waterdogs was the team I wanted to go to. So, everything ended up working out, and it was crazy. Just really digging into the roster, getting to kind of see who was actually on the team. It was, the original question was even like, wow, am I going to make this team? Like this lineup is unreal. So it was really, really cool to get to see, the guys I was going to play with, but in the same moment, I think at that moment in time, it was even more special that I got to share it with my guys at Johns Hopkins. I think it was a very special night for me and my family.
When you look at just your guys' draft class too, and you throw Sean in there as an undrafted rookie, where it is so unique that a team has not just 5 draft picks. You guys have 6 rookies in this class, and you're all from different walks of life. You have yourself with the Canadian background. You have Silas with the Haudenosaunee. You have a D2 player in Kyle Lewis, who's also representing the African American community. You have Josh Yago and Sean Byrne, representing U.S. military branches, and then you have Stauber, who's the lone defensive player coming in, from the Ivy League. How awesome is it to just kind of see the way you guys have meshed, but just from a sense of you guys all come from different walks of life, and it feels like you guys are best friends across the board, and you're such a close-knit, unit of 6, no matter where you come from, and you guys have been able to just kind of, connect and click. And how cool is it that you all get to represent so many different walks of life on this roster as well?
Yeah, I think that I'll speak about the rookie class, but it definitely I echo the same sentiment for the rest of the roster. I think it's just because we just want to go out there and have fun. Like we understand that we're rookies, we understand that we're young. Um like who cares? Like we're gonna go out there, we're gonna spin the ball, we're gonna, have fun doing it, we're gonna celebrate, we're gonna, play our game. And I mean, at the end of the day, like we've been training for the last 4 years. We've been playing, high level lacrosse the last 4 years. We're ready to go. We're athletically, we're in shape. We're fast, and we can. It took us a little bit to kind of get that confidence, but I mean, we can compete with the best. We've shown it now. So I think that just for our group, like I said, our rookie class loves hanging out with each other. We're always, kind of doing something, whether it be little rookie duties or, just talking in the locker room, talking in the hotel, hanging out. So it's definitely a special group, but I think at the end of the day, it's just, we love going out there and having fun. We love seeing each other succeed. I love, watching Stauber lock someone up, watching, Burno make a save, Kalu burn someone to the outside, Yago, take it wherever he wants. Um, and Sai, kind of pull anything out of his back pocket. That guy's got skills like none other. So it's been really, really awesome. So I think we lucked out, with our rookie class, with our drafts, and I think adding Burno in there too is just another like-minded guy who wants to win, who loves seeing his guys succeed. So at the end of the day, that's all it's about.
I always ask, guys that I don't typically know the story behind it, but what goes into your decision to wear number 16? What's the significance there?
Um, yeah. So I was a 22 guy my whole life. I wore 22. Coming into Hopkins, and I mean, you're coming in as a freshman. You're not going to get your first number choice. Um, so they gave out a list of numbers that they had, and um, I had second pick. I was gonna go with 24. One of our other freshmen, Andrew Bigelow. Shout out my guy Biggs. Andrew Bigelow took it. So the rest of the numbers were there. And 16, one of my best friends growing up, wore 16 our whole lives. Mark Waters, currently plays for Penn State, transferred to St. Joe's. And I was like, well, I mean, Mark, you wore 16, so I know Mark, so I think I might as well wear 16 and give him a text. So that's how it actually worked. Excuse me. I picked 16 and then texted Mark and I was like, hey, I'm wearing it. And we had a good laugh about it, but no real like story behind it. Honestly, it was just one of my boys wore it growing up, and it was there when I had the opportunity. I thought it would be cool, so wore it. I was honestly planning on changing after freshman year, but then I had success as a freshman and thought you kind of gotta roll with what's working, and then it kind of stuck. So that's all it is.
Speaking of 22, you have Mr. Philadelphia Lacrosse on this Philadelphia Waterdogs team, kind of leading the way, Michael Sowers. What's it been like getting to know him and kind of just having a guy who is from your home market that you represent across your chest, being able to kind of teach you the ropes of what it's like playing in Philadelphia and representing a city like Philadelphia, both sports and just culture wise, and knowing what it means, to the city to have success whenever you wear Philadelphia across your chest.
Yeah, I mean, having Mike has been awesome. Obviously, how much he does for us on the field, but I mean, I feel like I'm repeating myself with this kind of sentiment. But he's awesome. He's even better off the field. He's some guy. He's one of the guys that's kind of taken us under his wing and showed us what it's like to be a pro, and the kind of the mindset you have to have. But he's another one of those guys where he just instills so much confidence in us. He just wants to see us succeed. He wants to see the team succeed. He doesn't care about personal stats or anything like that. Those kind of just come with the territory, come with what he does and what he can provide. But um, he's an even better guy off the field, and you see why he has so much success, and you see how much he cares about Philly and how much he loves the city, and how much it really is home for him, and that's something that inspires us to also go out and compete for, and kind of have that same energy of, okay, yeah, like we've got Philly across our chest, so we gotta we're putting on for the city as well.
Who's somebody on this roster that, coming in, you weren't sure you'd have a strong connection with or be able to, mesh with initially, but as the season's gone on, you've really clicked and become really close with?
Yeah, I mean, let me think. Probably either Jimmy Freehill or Gavin Adler. We played against Jimmy a couple times in college, and Jimmy will tell you the same thing. He's a loud guy. He's getting in your face. He's a very edgy defender. And we got nose to nose a couple times at Denver, and we were a little chirps back and forth and whatnot. And I remember those when I got drafted. So I wasn't sure about Jim just because I wasn't sure if he was gonna like me either. But we clicked instantly, and like I said, he's one of my close buddies, and he's a great guy. No, we know a lot of similar people. Him being from Boston, me having some teammates on Hopkins from Boston as well. So, there was kind of that familiarity to start, and then similar to all the other guys, it kind of just snowballed. And we have a phenomenal relationship, and he's one of those guys where you want to go to bat for him, you want to see him succeed, you want to see him, hitting 2 pointers and getting loud and selling. And so it's been awesome. And then, Gavin Adler, I mean, he's Mr. Serious, right? He's dialed in all the time, but no. He's just one of those guys where it was just like he's a reigning depoy. He's obviously first overall pick, for first team All American, whatever the accolades are. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but just a quieter guy, serious, a little intimidating at first, but then once you break into him, he's exactly like the rest of the dudes. He's just a phenomenal teammate. A great professional and someone that you can easily look at to kind of model your work ethic after.
Coming in, I'm sure, coming into your pro career, you were a fan of the PLL, just taking it all in and just, preparing to eventually be putting on a jersey one day like you are now. What's something now that you're on the player side of the PLL and, going to weekends every weekend and kind of just the logistics part of it, what's really stood out to you about how the PLL operates and what's impressed you as a player about how things go on a week in and week out basis to make things, look like the well-oiled machine that it is?
Yeah, I mean, it is a machine. I will say that. It is definitely a buttoned up operation. They do a phenomenal job. I should be shouting people out, but I don't know, all the people involved's names. So forgive me, but everyone who puts that on, everyone who gets all the gear to the different places, the jerseys, the practice gear, the helmets, like everything that goes into it. I honestly don't even know, the amount of steps that it takes to put on a weekend like that. All across the country, all summer. So it is me not knowing, the heads behind that, and not being able to show people out kind of shows that it's a thankless job. But they deserve all the thanks and all the credit regardless. They're what makes this operation run. And I think that everyone would say that. So it's a very dialed, buttoned up. I've forgotten some equipment as well, some soft goods, and they have everything going on. Like no one is going to be out of luck in any scenario. Um, so again, I apologize for not being able to kind of pick, like, say some people's names, but it's the whole crew, everyone who puts on a weekend like this should get a shout out. So it's very impressive.
I don't know if it's hit you yet, and I love asking, guys this question, but like, how awesome is it going to be when the new set drops and, there's a Matt Collison rookie card in the new PLL field side set that you're going to have, a bunch of, 8 to 12-year-olds screaming your name to sign trading cards with your face on it, get your jersey, and all of that kind of stuff that kind of goes into that whole moniker of like, damn, I'm a professional athlete. To know that you're gonna have a rookie card, to know that there's kids running around that want to wear number 16 in purple and white. How awesome is that to when you get a chance to reflect and sit on that, being like, damn, like I'm a professional athlete.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'm one of those guys where I don't really think I don't really think of myself kind of like in that sense. Like I remember being a kid, and like I'm a Boston sports fan. So that's that is, you think of that what you want, but I was a huge Zdeno Chara fan growing up, and I remember going to games in Toronto. Like every Bruins game they'd come in town, I'd beg my dad to go to get us tickets and go see Big Z play. So it's one of those things where it's like I remember being in their shoes, and kind of being in that position now is a weird feeling, just because I'm just a normal dude. I'm a normal guy. Like I love hanging out I love kids. I love hanging out with kids. I love going over to the sideline after and getting to sign everything, and just talk to them. First thing I ask is what's your name? You have fun today? I mean, it's one of those things where it's kind of weird. All these kids asking like for stuff, because my answer is obviously always like, of course, because I'm like, you can't really, I don't really think you can say no to a situation like that. But it's weird, man. It's weird because, not weird in like a bad way, but it's just like I just don't think of myself in that kind of a way, and it's a very humbling and a very humbling experience. But I'm just a normal dude at the end of the day. So it's very cool. I will say it's very cool, and I'm very grateful to be in the position that I am. And it's taking a lot of hard work, and it's taken a village, but it's still a very kind of just like a weird experience, because it's just strange. So.
You bring up being a Boston sports fan, which means I got to ask you your thoughts on the Jaylen Brown trade.
Yeah, I think it was terrible. Yeah, I think it was horrible. I think whoever was in charge of that, I don't know who put that idea in the Celtics organization, but we're gonna have, yeah, I don't know. There's gonna be a documentary about that one day.
But now it's pretty cool that you and Jaylen Brown both represent the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, and LeBron.
Which I asked Yago about this last week when he was on the show, because
I know, yeah, he was saying.
in Denver, I asked Sowers, I was like, what was your reaction? You get to, share the city with LeBron now. And what was that kangaroo court like when the Shams tweet comes through and Yago said
Oh my
everyone
God.
was losing their minds?
Sour. I've never seen someone so like just guaranteeing a championship out of Michael Sowers. It was unbelievable. It was crazy. This guy, he stood up and started looking around the room and said, he started, yeah, I'll get my ring size now. It was crazy.
That's the most Michael Sowers reaction I've ever heard to
It
Eddie.
was so funny, but it was
That's incredible.
It was good.
I'm sure Jimmy was loving that too, being the Boston sports fan that he is.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it was not good, but
that's incredible. Mike's the man.
He is.
I think the unsung hero of your guys' coaching staff is Sweet Lou. Talk to me about just getting to know him and what he brings to the table for this team and how he just runs the shit out of that box for you guys.
I mean, Lou's a stud. He's the glue, man. He's a ball knower too. I should shout him out for this. Me, him, Jimmy Freehill, Michael Sowers, we're kind of the mainstays in this game. The original three is Jimmy, Mike, and Lou, I should say. And I joined this game late this year, but they've been doing this for a little bit, I guess. And it's you name a team, any team, and immediately following, someone names a player. So if I say like Villanova, you say Kyle Lowry, shout out Toronto Raptors. So I could either say, the next person could either say where he went to school or his number. So you say his number, since I already said Villanova. 7, you name a player, any player in the NBA, NFL, or PL that wears number 7, and you just keep going like that. Lou is the best. It has the best ball knowledge. He's naming guys I've never heard about in my entire life. I couldn't even tell you if they're real people to ever walk the earth. And he knows everyone, man. This guy, he's a sports guy. He is so buttoned up. He knows everything. And he's just a glue guy on our team. Everyone respects him. Everyone loves what he does. He works so hard. He's cutting film. He's always doing something for the defense. And he like you said, he runs the shit out of the box, right? So he's always yelling at me to get back or get on or just do something. So he's the man. And we're so grateful to have him, and he's been a huge part of our success as well.
Talk to me about the village that's made Matt Collison who Matt Collison is. What's gone into just you getting to this point, and the people that have helped you along the way.
I mean, obviously you start with your parents. They raised me right. They raised me to be, honest, tough, humble, but they raised me to be a competitor. So it's I can't thank my parents enough for the opportunities they gave me. Sending me to St. Michael's College School in downtown Toronto. It's one of the best, if not the best, schools in Canada. I think, at least, especially if you're an athlete, you want to go there and play sports, get the best of both worlds, academics and education. The leadership there has helped me grow into part of the person that I am today. And then going to Johns Hopkins, I think that that really solidified me as a person. Even though I'm still growing, I kind of figure out who I wanted to be as a young man there, and what I wanted to put into my life and what I wanted to get out of it. I think that the people at Hopkins, were some of the most influential people in my entire life. Leaving home at 18, at that moment in your life, you're very, susceptible to change and, to outside pressures. And I think Hopkins applied all the right ones. I think I was surrounded by people that made me want to be better, made me want to be the best version of myself, all the way from the staff through every single teammate that I've ever had at Hopkins. Everyone has been, so integral to my success, and that's something that I'll never be able to fully thank everyone. But I think that that time period in my life was one of the most important. So I think all the way through, my parents, my sister, my extended family, raising me to be who I am. Going through high school, going to St. Mike's, which is such a special place in my heart. I went there from grade 7 to 12, all the way through to my time at Hopkins, where I really think I grew the most as a young man, and I have some of my best friends for life at that place, and it's something I'll never be able to fully thank everyone for, like I said.
When you have this kind of quote unquote extended layoff for you guys, where you have the league-wide bye, you have the quarterfinals bye. What are some things that, you personally feel like you have to kind of stay on top of when you're, not out there with the guys, and what's kind of going into the mindset for you as a collective, roster for you guys to stay sharp and be prepared for when Labor Day rolls around and you're playing on September 7th back out in Utah?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, staying ready, keeping everything consistent. I think at this point in the season, you've kind of got your training regimen down, you've got your schedule, what your day to day looks like. So I think just not breaking habits, not getting complacent, not thinking, oh, like we're first in the league. Well, I mean, we got the bye, I can take the week off. That's not the case. I think, keeping the main thing, keeping everything consistent is the most important thing. That's led us to the success that we've been having so far, and I think that'll continue to lead us to success. So the layoff is definitely nice. Getting to rest, getting to chop up film, and get the body right. But I think that the actual training, especially this week with the league wide bye, is upped. And leading into that game, we can kind of get back down and flatten out the curve and be ready to fully go 110% on Labor Day, like you said.
I think one thing you guys have done really well, and Coach T talked about this, and CJ talked about this too in the post-game press conference, like you guys never look ahead. You always are one game at a time. Even on those doubleheader weekends, you're not worried about who the second game is until that final whistle of the first game is over. How valuable of just kind of a mindset is that for you guys as players to know, like, hey, we just take this one game at a time. We got to worry about the opponent in front of us, and then once that's over, we can move on to the next.
Yeah, I think that mindset all comes with being process driven. I think that the little goals obviously stack up to the big goals, but if you focus on the big goals too much, you'll lose the little steps that it takes to get there. So I think that Coach T does a great job of kind of echoing the message of like, hey, listen, like nothing else matters except this play right here, or except this game or this moment, because that is the truth, right? And if we start worrying about the record, we start worrying about looking down the road, we miss what's right in front of us. And I mean, if you miss what's right in front of you, you're gonna miss important details and end up losing games. So I think that that mindset is very well understood, like you said, throughout our roster. Due to the fact that we have we've got a lot of champions on the roster who understand what it takes to get there, but B, we got guys who just want to be present in the moment and be with the guys. I mean, you don't want to look too far ahead, because then you start losing moments with these guys, and you don't want to take anything for granted, right? So it's the combination of the two that I think really make that mentality so present in our locker room.
What goes into the Matt Collison pregame routine? What are you doing to get ready for a game? What's the locker room routine? What's on the playlist? What goes into game day for you?
Yeah, I'm a pretty laid back guy on game day. I do have a routine that I've had all throughout college, but it's nothing serious. I'm not a big eater on game day. I don't eat a lot. The later in the day the game is, the more I will eat. But if it's like a 1 p.m. or like a noon game, I'm really not having much. Usually go on a bit of a walk by myself, kind of just chill out, scroll through some reels, get my mind off lacrosse, just kind of just hang out. I always listen to the same song as I'm walking into the to the field, and then after that it's pretty chill music. A lot of let me think. A lot of Olivia Dean, liking Olivia Dean these days. Nothing specific, but her I like Lord, like a lot of Lord music, like just like stuff like that. Noah Khan, just laid back, kind of getting everything chill, and then go out on the field, shoot around with the boys. Nothing in particular, no like distinct routine. I like to keep it loose, just keep snapping it around, get loose, and then yeah. I mean, outside of that, nothing really special. I mean, just getting the body right. I do a lot of the same warm up stuff that I did as far as dynamic warm up. Getting a lot of the same stuff I did at Hopkins. So shout out Coach Jay Dyer, Coach Joe Alexander for those. But yeah, it's really nothing serious with me. I'm not too meticulous of a guy for as far as warm ups go. A lot of other guys have some different quirks, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
What's that one same song that gets in the rotation?
I can't tell you that.
There we go.
Unfortunately, it's there's some questionable language in it that I can't be putting on the youth seaters. So it's a good song though, I will say.
We'll have to talk about it off pod.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. I ask everybody that comes on each and every week if they had the opportunity to kind of lob the guest chair for Waterdogs Weekly onto the next, who would you want to see in your seat? Obviously, you guys got the league-wide bye this week. Next week, the quarterfinals bye, but second bye week, who's sitting in the hot seat for Waterdogs Weekly?
Yeah, I'd love to see Kyle Lewis up here.
He has been on.
Okay, Kalu's been on. Then
the only rookies we haven't had yet are Stauber and Silas.
Stauber would be great. I mean, they both do a good job, but Stauber would be great. He's a funny guy. Outside of that, have you had Gavin on?
We did have Gavin.
Jimmy would be great.
Yeah, we haven't had Jimmy yet.
I think I'm gonna lob it to Stauber. I want to see what he's got to say on one of these. So that'll be a good one for you.
There we go. Matt, final message to just the Philly faithful as you've worn Philadelphia across your chest for 8 regular season games, and you guys get ready for the playoffs. What's kind of the collective message there for everybody to gear up for Labor Day?
Gear up. I mean, we're ready to go. We're excited. We're gonna have a great week of practice in Philly, and we're ready to take this thing deep. So stay with us and tune in.
Dude, you're the man. It's been a blast. We'll have to do this again, and best of luck. Just staying ready for the playoffs, and then when Labor Day rolls around, I know you're gonna be out there ripping twos and hopefully leading this team to the championship.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Big thank you to Matt Collison and Nick Oxnam for making Waterdogs Weekly this week possible. Matt Collison's the absolute man, and wishing him the best of luck this rest of this postseason run as the Waterdogs get set for September 7th out in Utah for the Eastern Conference semifinals as they await their opponent, who will play next weekend following the league-wide bye. Last bit here on the show, but before we get into it, I want to talk to you guys about one of my favorite events here in the city of Vineland. And yes, our awesome presenting partner, the city of Vineland. Because, listen, everybody. One of Vineland's most anticipated events of the year is on the horizon. It's the 9th annual Vineland Food Truck Festival, returning to downtown Vineland on Sunday, September 13th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Enjoy delicious eats from 30 food trucks, shop local craft and merchandise vendors, and experience live entertainment throughout the day featuring the Steely Dan tribute band Kid Charlemagne, direct from Philadelphia DJ Ben Arsenal, and much more. Bring your family and friends for a full day of food and music on Landis Avenue. For more information, contact Special Events Coordinator Sheena Santiago at 856-794-4000, extension 4169. Again, that's the 9th annual Vineland Food Truck Festival, returning to downtown Vineland on Sunday, September 13th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Bring your family and friends for a full day of food and music on Landis Avenue. And again, for more information, contact Special Events Coordinator Sheena Santiago at 856-794-4000, extension 4169, Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season.
The Vineland Municipal Utilities is committed to helping your business succeed. As a community-owned utility, our focus is on service, not profit. From site planning to powering your operations, we can help you achieve your strategic goals. Whether it's a customized cost analysis of your usage needs, engineering support to ensure a smooth interconnection, or offering lower rates than neighboring utilities, we want to be your partner in creating an environment for long-term success. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season.
The Eagles are in joint practice with the New England Patriots, and listen, the A.J. Brown of it all is obviously going to come out over these next few days as the Eagles prepare to play the Patriots in the preseason this weekend. But I got to tell you guys, I'm tired of hearing about A.J. Brown. He's no longer on the Eagles. I am forever grateful and thankful for what AJ did to help the Eagles win a Super Bowl, help them get to 2 Super Bowl appearances. It's done, though. I'm tired of it. The saga ended June 1st. He's a New England Patriot. He wanted his way out. He got his way out. He's gone. I cannot be bothered and worried about a guy who's not on this fucking Eagles team anymore. I'm worried about the guys who are in that locker room wearing midnight green, wearing white, wearing black. That's all I care about. The people that are so overly obsessed with getting more from A.J. Brown, and I get reporters have a job to do, but there's so many just aggregators and just losers online trying to push this A.J. Brown narrative well beyond the means of what it needs to be, and it's tired, it's lazy, it's boring. Nobody cares. Nobody cares anymore. I'm worried about Devontae Smith. I'm worried about Dontavian Wicks. I'm worried about Hollywood Brown. I'm worried about Mekhi Lemon. I'm worried about Saquon Barkley, Tank Bigsby, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts. I'm worried about this offensive line. I'm worried about this defense being a group of absolute demons out there. Jalix Hunt was out there performing extremely well today, and it's getting overshadowed because we've got to worry about A.J. Brown again. He's on the Patriots. He's their issue now. I'm over it. I don't want to hear about A.J. Brown anymore. It's done. It's in the past. I'm sick of it. Eagles fans, Eagles media, there's nothing more. You are beating a dead horse's dead horse with this A.J. Brown discourse. Bars. I'm over it. It's done. Stop talking about it. Stop trying to report on it. There's nothing more to report on. You're trying to milk a cow that has no more milk in it. Just cut it. Cut it out, as Joey from Full House once said. I'm over it. I can't wait for this joint practice bullshit and this preseason game to be done. You guys know how I feel about the preseason. It means absolutely nothing. It's not going to affect this team in the grand scheme one way or another. Just get everybody out of the preseason healthy and be ready for September 13th. That's all I care about. I know there's going to be fringe guys that are fighting for roster spots, and they're going to make the team and find a way to, endear themselves into the hearts of Philadelphians everywhere. But quite frankly, the preseason means nothing to me. Training camp is just them warming up. It's a warm-up process. It's gearing up for what actually matters. And I'm not going to sit here and dissect, Jalen Hurts' interceptions count during training camp. I'm not going to sit here and dissect routes run by Dontavian Wicks. I'm not going to sit here and dissect, shoulda, coulda, wouldas in the preseason. It's boring. Nobody wants to hear that. None of you listening want to hear me talk about that. None of you listening here truly care about that. And if you do, tell me why. Leave me a voicemail, speakpipe.com/undergroundsportsphiladelphia, because I genuinely find no purpose. There's no substance to it. And it is so fucking lazy. It's tired, and I'm over it. I'm so over it. But yeah, I just had to voice my opinions on that as AJ spoke to the media, and all these videos are coming out from all the media members there, and it was a complete nothing burger. I was impressed with Dontavian Wicks with a nasty cut move to put a Patriots DB on skates. That was fun. That's what I want to see. I don't care about this false narrative stuff anymore with A.J. Brown. He's a New England Patriot. It's over. It's done with. Thank you for the Super Bowl ring. We're on to the next one. That's all I got for you guys on this one. Make sure you're following us on the socials at Underground PHI across the board. We're on every social platform. It really helps the show. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a like on the video. Leave a comment on the episode on Spotify. Leave a 5-star review on Apple. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. Leave a like on the video, drop a comment in the comment section, and smash that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. Big thank you to Grace Del Pizzo, Matt Collison, and Nick Oxnam. Grace and Matt for hopping on the show here on a double interview Thursday edition of the pod. And big thank you to Nick Oxum for his continued support and his continued efforts to help us book Waterdogs players, along with Grace Hamilton all season long here for Waterdogs Weekly. I'll be back on Monday breaking down this Phil's Cardinals series. I'll be down at the bank on Friday. I'll be down at the bank on Sunday. We got a loaded weekend at Citizens Bank Park. It's going to be a ton of fun. Hit me up if you're going to be there because it's going to be awesome. It's a huge series on deck for the Phils. We'll see what happens in the preseason. Not that it matters against the Patriots. We'll see what happens with the Union and Kevin Sullivan and this alleged red card that could keep him out of Saturday night's match down in Austin. We'll see if the Union attempt to appeal it, because the more I've watched this video, the more he does not deserve a red card whatsoever. And whatever the hell else comes across the docket, maybe we'll get LeBron's official introduction to the Philadelphia 76ers. But we'll talk more on Monday, breaking down everything that comes across the docket in the world of Philly sports. Big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. And coming next week, the first episode of the Dan Russo Show here on the Underground Industries Podcast Network, the revival of the Dan Russo Show. As it was Guzman's gridiron for the past 3 years, the Dan Russo Show is back as Coach Russo back at the helm for Vineland High School football, hosted by yours truly. Gonna be one hell of a season with Coach Russo back on the pod. This has been episode number 874 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the City of Vineland. I'm your boy KB. Again, big thank you to Grace Del Pizzo and Matt Collison for hopping on the show. I'll talk to you all on Sunday night, and you'll hear it all on Monday. But until then, I'm getting the heck up out of here, and I'm signing off. Go Phils. Peace.